All right, it is saying that we are live. So we are going to go ahead and get started in a moment. We are allowing some people to gather in the room, but let me be the first to welcome everyone to this Halloween installment of the Tequila Tales. I am stepping in for Isaac Paul. My name is Clyde De La Fontaine. All of my good friends call me Luther. Okay, so Luther for all of you guys that feel comfortable with me, but just Clyde, just to keep it short. Oh, Mr. Fontaine, I really don't care. But yeah, this is going to be an interesting show. So let's go ahead and just take a look. We still have some people that are going to be joining us momentarily, but let's go ahead and take a look at who's in the room. Hey guys, how you guys
Hey,
doing?
good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Doing pretty
Good.
good. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started, as everybody is gathering. For those of you guys that do not know, that have never been to the Tequila Tales, the Tequila Tales is a highly engaging and fully interactive discussion on love and relationships. Okay, what it is not a panel discussion, right? We could have very easily gotten a bunch of experts together and had them tell you about, what they think or how they think you should live your life. But with the Tequila Tales, we have a motto, and that motto is with love, we all have a story to tell. And so, what we try to do is delve into that story, and we want people to share their stories and share their experiences. We don't have many rules, we just have one major ground rule, and it's just that of respect. Okay, just respect. We're going to keep it civil. Okay. What do we mean by respect? We just mean respecting one another's thoughts, their opinions, and not necessarily attacking people because you disagree with them. However, let me share what respect does not look like. Respect does not mean agreement. I'll repeat that: respect does not mean agreement. So, if it becomes too kumbaya in this room, I will play devil's advocate. If it becomes too kumbaya in this virtual room, I will play devil's advocate, and you will not know when I'm playing devil's advocate because I will vehemently argue my point. Hey guys, how you guys doing this evening? On this Halloween special edition of The Representative. How you guys doing?
Doing good. Doing great.
Good.
Doing great.
So in a moment we're going to dig into how everybody feels about their who their representative is, and we'll kind of dig a little bit deeper, kind of let you guys explain uh what this motif is, and why you chose it. But for those that are not aware of the fact that this is a special edition, or may not have had an opportunity to actually read while we're in costume, I'm gonna go ahead and read what the synopsis is. So it says, they say that first impressions are everything. As a result, we generally try to put our best feet forward, but sometimes that foot belongs on a whole other body. And while we've all been a little guilty of leading with our representative, the hope is that what you've ordered isn't too far from what you got. In the spirit of Halloween, this installment of the Tequila Tales will examine the many masks that we wear in our relationships. Additionally, we'll explore the more hidden sides of our desires during a candid discourse about our kinks. Okay. So, like I said, a moment ago, we're going to get into the specifics of, our representatives and, kind of why we chose what it is that we chose. But where I would like to start off with is a little bit of story time. So, what I want to ask you guys that are in a room with us early, can anyone share with me the most bizarre bait and switch that you've encountered with regards to dating? Right? Like, thought I was getting this, ended up being this over here, right? So, let's go ahead and jump right into what it means to be a representative. Can anyone share with me a story where what you thought you were getting was totally off base?
Y'all go ahead, cause my story, y'all don't understand. Y'all go ahead. That's why I'm making it.
I have a
So,
story. If
go ahead.
nobody, oh, you got something, Al?
No, wait.
Come on,
No,
come
go,
on.
no, go ahead. Go ahead, Mels.
I have a story. It was with someone I dated, but I got a bait and switch because one of my exes, we're not Facebook friends, so it's fine. One of my exes, we broke up. He ended up, going with a different chick and got her pregnant. Like, okay, whatever, whatever. Black Chicago small. Hey, what's up? Hey, girl, hey. So he's like, oh, I want you to come over and have dinner with me and my wife. And I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. Free food, I'm there. So I'm like having dinner, and then it turned into like a proposition, like, let's do a threesome. And I'm like, gotta go. Check, please, taxi. And it's like, you come on, have dinner. You ain't talking about some three. I'm like, negative. And it would have been great if I went into it knowing like that's what's going down. But you baiting and switching me, and I don't like your wife. No, ma'am. So that was my bait and switch. I was just like, I gotta get the hell up out of here. Taxi, that was before Uber, but that was bait and switch. That's not what I signed up for. You said dinner with you and your wife. That's not.
Oh my.
It would have been great if I went into it knowing like that's what's going down, but you made me and I right.
Okay. Wait. Okay, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. That's insane. Okay, that's fucking gross. Not gross. Let me take that back. You know, to each their own. You know what I'm saying? But that's insane, especially for an ex. I don't think I've ever heard of that. Like an ex calling you to come join their current situation. Like, to me, I think that is the most like bizarre shit.
And she's bisexual. I didn't know that. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that
makes sense then.
Yeah, but you couldn't have thought you was just getting dinner. I mean, like, what kind of dinner is that? Like, if my ex invited me to dinner with his new, like his wife, yeah, either he's about to die, you know what I'm saying? Because like my ex is actually my son's father. Yeah, he's about to die and I need to know. But outside of that, like, there's no reason to invite me to dinner with your wife. For what?
Yeah. No.
Yes.
But like, did they get you ready? Like, were they like wear something sexy, you know, get a little loose?
Right, like this black tie, make sure
nothing. Just, I want you to stop by. You know, me and Cindy want you to stop by and for dinner, you know, stop on by. We would love to, you know, break bread, blah, 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 blah. And then you know you start getting cues and you hear key words like, wait, what? Is he saying what I think I think that's what he's saying.
Wow.
And she grinning, she over there grinning like, oh hell no, time to go.
Okay. So for those of you guys that just jumped in and for people that are just tuning in now, this is a discussion obviously about the representative. And so the first question that I ask now, before I even jump into that first question again, I'm going to ask everyone a personal favor. For those of you guys that are watching on Facebook, what we want to do is we want to invite as many people into this discussion as possible. So do us a favor. If you are watching this thread, go ahead and share it on your page. Just go ahead and just push the share button. You know, that way we can broaden the audience of who is not only watching, but participating in this virtual discussion with us. So, yeah, just go ahead and click that share button. I'm going to probably ask that again a little bit later. But those of you that just tuned in, we're talking about your representative, right? And the fact that sometimes what you ordered or what you thought was on the menu isn't necessarily what you got, right? And so the first question that I ask everyone in the room was, does anyone have that story where what they ordered wasn't necessarily what they got as it relates to the representative? So Brittany, you said that you had a story for us.
Oh, no. I wasn't going to share it. But, okay. In general, yes. This has happened to me twice. And some people would say, you know, it seems as if I'm the common denominator. And for a while, I started to think that maybe I was a problem. But then after a while, I realized, no, just bad decisions. One of my exes, pretty much like, he was one way all while we were like just dating. You know, he was great. He was super attentive. He was everything that you would want your counterpart to be, you know. And this actually went on for like 3-4 years. So you would think a person's representative would have been, you know, showing their face by now. They would have, you know, had these moments where you kind of like, oh, okay, I could see where, you know, you might be a little off the hinges from time to time. But no, he was pretty consistent. You know, he was he just had that ability to be able to, stay in character. It wasn't until we actually lived together that I started to notice a drastic change, like right away, because we didn't start living together until after our son was born. So that was our first time staying together. And that experience, I tell you, was like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. He was a different person, like complete. And it was just almost like give you whiplash. You like, wait a minute. There's no way I would have walked, willingly into this shit if I had seen this shit prior to us actually living together. So yeah, that representative is real because, to me, I feel like you don't want to hold up life. But at the end of the day, it's like, what can I do to put you in a position, not necessarily where you feel vulnerable, but where all that extra filler shit is completely removed and you're at your rawest point, because that's what you want to find out about a person. You want to pull back everything that you're doing to try to make me feel good. And I want to get the person that you really are, And yeah, he didn't waste no time.
Okay.
It was terrible.
Okay. Anybody else got a story to share?
Well, I think we all do, don't we? Like when you first meet someone, they're giving you their representative. What is it, like 3 months before you get the real them? So you trying to play the guessing game on, is that who they really say they are?
And you do the same thing. Like you be on your best behavior. It's so funny because like when we talk about this representative, we always talk about the representative happening to us instead of us taking accountability and owning when we were doing the same shit. I can account for it. Like I'll be the first to jump out on that sword. Okay. Yeah. You usually on your best behavior. You pull out all of your best like tricks. You super happy, you pleasant, unless something just really takes you there, or unless some, an outlier situation shows up and he just happen to be there and able to see you react a certain type of way. But you're not really as forthcoming as, you would want them to be either. You know what I'm saying? So
do you all think that the representative is an indication of someone lying? Like what do you all think is the foundation of someone having a representative, in a relationship or during the courtship process? Do you all consider that to be deceitful?
No, not all the time. In some cases, it can be deceitful. So like, I think that the representative can be a portion of who you are, right? A part of who you are, as in, somebody that you really wouldn't show in the forefront, right? So me being who I am, Steve Urkel, not too many people get to see the nerdy side.
Did I do that?
Did I do that? People don't get to see that side of me, right? Most times.
Stefan.
We see it all the time.
We're not gonna start, okay? Where your Dalmatians at? What are you at?
She's wearing them.
Wearing them. Thank you, Wachia. Watch the cartoon. It ain't nothing but a staple in your childhood. Okay.
No, I think that it can be just an aspect of who you are. So like throughout the call, you guys are gonna see another side of me.
Okay. So you have multiple sides that you're gonna be showing.
Are we gonna see Stefan?
No, you're not gonna see Stefan.
I like Stefan.
Hey, don't get us blocked. Don't be on here trying to strip Facebook and block us.
Going to unbutton this now.
Okay. So,
but
sorry,
wait,
go ahead.
But wait, I got a quick little caveat, as you say.
Okay.
So when you say, oh, okay, Clarence.
No, you were saying no.
Just messing with him. So, okay, quick little caveat. Okay, so you say, are you lying if you're not giving your real self, right? Okay. Mm-hmm. And Daniel, for the first time, like ever, I think I agree. Here's the thing. It's almost as if like, if you're that person that believes that you're lying by omission, if you feel that you're that person, if you're that person that thinks that a person is lying by omission, like because they did not volunteer the information to you, right, when they had the opportunity to, then that's a lie, right? Some people are really, in my opinion, a little sensitive in that regard, right? I just say ask the right questions, right? Okay. But that's all up on, you know, it's everybody's preference. So it just depends on the type of person you are. Some people will feel like you're lying because you did not disclose who you were in the beginning, or you didn't bring certain things up that they feel are important.
Well, isn't that part of the courtship game? I mean, up front, you know, you're putting your best foot forward because you're trying to connect, or you're trying to land a prize, if you will.
So it just depends on the type of person you are. Some people will feel like you're lying because you did not disclose who you were in the beginning, or you didn't bring certain things up that they feel are.
But isn't there a time to peel?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Clarence,
yeah, no. Go ahead. You were saying, Clarence? I'm sorry. You got muted.
I'm muted.
Go for it. Sorry about that. What's going on? Hey, Clarence. Yeah, no. There's a delay on Facebook. So Clarence, if you're gonna have Facebook running, you gotta mute it. You can't have it actively going because it's a 10-second delay. So that's why we keep hearing the feedback. But to your point though, Al, like, you know, I do kind of feel like that is a part of the courtship process, right? Like, how do you, like, because, and that is one of the questions that I was gonna, you know, kind of get to, is that, you know, isn't it incumbent on the person, because no matter what it is that I show you or what representative that I see, you know, as you get to know me or as you grow to know me, you're going to learn more, right? And so that's why I'm kind of trying to figure out, like, where is that line between deception and, you know, discovery, right? Like maybe you just haven't discovered these things yet.
Like, that's bullshit. We all know the difference between getting to know somebody and organically you learn more about them as things happen and you deepen the relationship or the friendship, versus someone is like a fucking onion and you're pulling teeth to get things out of them and get to know them. And they're not someone, to me, when I think of that, that's not someone who's maybe emotionally available. You may have fun and kick it with them and keep the shit real light. Maybe they serve a purpose. It just may not be a deepening relationship.
Yeah, they might be on the run.
Will say that I don't do the show up as a representative. I'm me at work with friends. Like, I'm me all the time. Obviously, like, there's different layers and not everybody's going to get, like, you know, all parts of me at all times, but I try to be authentic and not have a representative, like when you're dating somebody.
Oh, okay. So what does that mean exactly? Like being authentic at all times. Like, give me an example of a time where maybe you could have led with the representative, but you're like, nah, I'm going to show this, right? Because sometimes I feel like there's some things you need to hold back, right? Like in those early stages of courtship, you know, in their point where being too real too soon, you know, can go wrong.
Aggressive.
Well, Daniel knows that. Isn't that Daniel's whole story? His whole thing is like, I did too much.
I think that you have to know kind of what's okay and what's not okay. I mean, I've had situations where I was on dates with somebody. I was like, hey, I'm like really hungry. Like, I'm gonna get an appetizer, I'm gonna get dinner, I'm gonna get dessert. And I'm probably, like, when we go to the movies, I'm probably gonna get popcorn too. That's like, you know, it's just kind of giving them like, hey, I'm not always like this, but today I'm hungry. You know, I've had times where, you know, I may have farted on somebody on accident, but in my family, like that.
Did I do that?
You know what? But this is the thing though, Tina, I feel like that's so different than a situation where, like, we're talking about kinks and things that people might be into that might be outside of the norm. Like, I feel like there are some things where you have to lead with being very open around what it is that you're into and what you like and who you are. But then it's like, there's other things where it's like, oh, we haven't really gotten to that point yet where we even need to be having this kind of conversation about this, like, freaky ass thing that I'm into. But once we get there, we can have that conversation. But until then,
that's what
it doesn't seem right. Like, I might be able to convince you to do some freaky shit with me because now you really like me and you're willing to like do these things. But
Brittany,
if I told you that
I have a question for you, because this came up on the Conversation Facebook group where we were talking about, someone had shared about the woman who had 2 husbands, and we were talking about poly relationships. And then one of the women, I forgot her name, but she commented that she was dating a poly guy or getting to know him, but he gave up too soon and he could have convinced her to be into this thing, this lifestyle. And then I kind of took pause to that. I was like, why should someone convince you to do the shit that, like, either be into it or not? And so I understand that in a relationship, you may feel more comfortable exploring things with someone, but I think the whole idea of having to convince someone to do some shit you're into, I like willingly, like people who are excited and willing.
That's true.
Oh, my bad. Go ahead, Brittany. Go ahead, 16.
The wig cap.
See, I like you. My kids can't play him in my house, so don't get go. But I like you. So.
I was like, I'm just gonna be the lace front because I don't approve of anything else. So here we are. Hawthorne does have a story, but we'll talk about that later. I feel like what you're saying, Aisha. I feel like there's a lot of things that people aren't into due to like having their own misconceptions, and so like. I know I have a few friends who are poly, and I remember one of them who was like the first one that I ever met, who was like, yeah, me and my husband are going to do this. And I remember feeling like, oh, okay, like that's really weird to me. And I'm going to be very ignorant and ask a bunch of questions, but like, how is this going to work?
But they weren't trying to convince you to get into it all. I think it's different if you're judging your friend versus if someone that you're dealing with is trying to convince you.
That's true. But eventually I was like, oh, maybe this is a little less weird though. And it was partially because like, I just became a little bit more educated about it. We're not poly and we have no plans to be, but it became like less weird, which I think sometimes has to happen for people.
I think that something like being poly is definitely some shit you should lead with.
Wait a minute.
I agree.
You should lead with
that. You should lead. Like if I'm out here and you stop me and you do the whole man thing, right?
Okay.
And then I'm like, right. And then okay, we go on a date. Yeah, right. Because that's what we do. We be right. Okay. And then we go on a date, right? And if we at dinner, that first dinner, that's something to lead with because
I don't know about that.
No. Yeah.
I've had that conversation and you have to lead with that because I need to
lead with that. Because you're either already in a poly situation that you're adding to, that you're growing, okay? Or you lost all your bitches and now you trying to recruit them. Okay. So I need to know that I'm one of many and I am not the only chick that you are interested in, and you just had time tonight to take me out because your other 3 wives was watching y'all 16 kids. See, I don't want to be a part of that. That's
okay. All right. Okay. So just to interject like mildly, right? I understand people wanting to know as much as they can know, like up front, right? But you know, the reason that I don't think that first date, probably even first couple of dates, would be the best time to have that, because first off, like there's different levels, okay? And if you lead with that, like there's such a stigma, I think, around it that I don't know anyone that would not be jarred from hearing that, right? Even
people
dudes that probably
are not jarred by that.
They're not. There's a lot of people out there that like that.
No.
I think you want to eliminate the people who are jarred by it because you don't want to convince someone to be part of a lifestyle. Like people who are poly are not walking around ashamed. I think that they want to let someone know that this is their lifestyle so that someone can opt into it or they can respectfly decline.
Absolutely.
And then you have to convince someone who already a little bit of freak already in them, and they're just like, give me that little nudge.
They just ain't never met nobody who did this shit. And so now you lead with the shit like, yo, look here, ma. So
wait a minute. Okay, so people who are poly, At what point do you think they recognized that they were poly? Like it was probably because of an experience, correct? Like you don't know you like some shit typically until you try it.
Somebody but
so if I lead with it before you know me, before you trust me as an individual, before you understand that we can enter this in a way that has rules and like that's a heavy conversation.
Are we talking about children or are we talking about adults?
You said
because
what?
If I'm 30,
are we talking about what?
Are we talking about children or are we talking about adults? Because
I would hope that children are being poly.
Because a child needs to kind of have an opportunity just to go through life, experience life, don't feel like they're being pressured to do anything. But to me, I feel like once you reach about 27, okay, you done done all that. And even if you haven't done all that, you know about it. In today's social environment, there's no way you don't know about it. There were fucking TV shows on the shit, right? Yep. So if you're sitting at dinner and somebody says, you know, I just want to let you know, like, you know, I think you're beautiful, blah, 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 but, you know, I got 2 of you at home. I am, you know what I'm saying, polyamorous or whatever. And that's just how I live. And I will have multiple wives. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
She might be like, oh, really? Like, that's working for you? You never know, because see, people run in certain environments that they don't choose. They're born into these different circles, right? And as they move through life, depending on how ambitious they are, depends on whether or not they branch off from home. If they never leave that circle and never are presented with the opportunity, you never know what they would say or what they would think or how they would feel about it. I mean, granted, you may get more no's than yes, but I guarantee you'd be surprised at your yeses.
I think it really depends on the relationships that you're already in. Like, if you already have things going on, if you're like, hey, like, I have this blended family and this is what we are, then you should probably disclose this up front. Versus if you're just a single person that like lives alone and you just date multiple, you know, partners. I think there's different rules based on.
I agree.
When you're bringing people into a situation, and we can all define situation as whatever we want to define it, but it still boils down to a situation. When you bring a person into that, it's just mutual respect to let them know where it's at in the beginning. You may be, you know what I'm saying, just out here dating casually. But when you go on that first date, that is the time to discover what the other person is looking for. Does it match up with what you got going on and what you're looking for? So why not disclose either children that you have, complicated relationships where like maybe your baby mama stay with you? Weird. Okay.
Weird. Listen. Okay. I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. That just feels a little unrealistic to go that deep. To go that deep in the early stages.
If I'm being 100%, okay. You could be out here looking like just who's dude from Girls Trip? What's his name?
Who are you talking about?
Kofi. You be out here looking like Kofi.
Right, you talking about what's his name? Black what's the dude that was the superhero? That's who you mean, right? Him?
Who? No, dude from Girls Trip. The great
Yeah, but what he was also Cage or
no, not him. But
not him.
Him too, but not him, but him too. So you could be out here looking all like that and making all like that money, right? But if you tell me about we dating, you ain't told me, disclose you got, you know, other chicks at home because you polyamorous and y'all all married or whatever, and you disclose that in the second month, I'm gonna want to kill you. You didn't wasted my time. I didn't telling all this, you know what I'm saying? And you just dropped a dime on me that I know some shit that I'm not gonna be a part of. Not because I'm not judging. It's just not my move. It's not my thing. I can't perform well in that situation.
Right. And
you want to tell me that in the beginning, because at this point we just wasting time.
I don't need to have 18 dates with you if I know we not on the same path. I can have one date. And I know, like, I dated a guy for 2 years and it ended because he didn't want to get married or have kids. And when I said, well, why didn't you tell me that in the beginning? Because you kind of like hinted and acted like you were cool. And he's like, well, what was I supposed to tell you that on our first date? Yes, nigga. I don't need to have another one. We don't need it.
Because what I want ain't gonna change.
Listen, man. No. But this is okay. And I don't know if this is necessarily what Al was referring to, but like I'm trying to figure out what is the line between leading with your best foot and something being a complete fabrication, right? Because okay, I'll give you one. Let's go with the scenario, right? While we're talking about things that you would like to know. So I know you all have heard these stories of these individuals that have filed for divorce against their wives because they saw them without makeup, right? And like what that situation was like when you first see your wife without makeup for the first time, you know, and it was like this dramatic difference between who you thought you was marrying versus you saw them without all the glamour on. Do you think that, I mean, obviously that was, you know, an aberration, right? But like, I have seen a couple of those scenarios where
and each time the man won. You know why?
You said what? You said what, Brittany?
Each time in those stories, the man won the lawsuit. You know why?
What happened? You gotta mute Clarence.
Clarence, you don't have to figure this
out. Sorry.
But go ahead. You were saying.
Okay. So so each time the man won, each of those situations I saw the man won. And on the surface, it seems extremely superficial. However, right, I know the shit's fake, but the reason why they won is because apparently when they were dating the woman, that's all he saw her as. She never was with him without all that makeup. Okay. And so then when they got married, he was able to finally wake up next to her and realize she didn't have no eyebrows. She didn't have no eyelashes. The plump lips he thought she had. No, bitch got like paper plates or whatever. And, you know, for him, he felt like it was complete deception because they had dated so long and he never questioned her that she didn't look like that. Now, we've all seen those makeup tutorials with the Asians. They are a beast with their makeup. Okay, they can make cheekbones and lash. Girl, I'm talking about like contour.
Can we just stop this? If you are the fool who marries someone without seeing them like fresh in the morning, that shit's on you. Let's just stop this.
Thing.
Like,
okay, right, but to your point though, Aisha. But to your point, you don't see a woman on the first date without makeup, right? How long are you dating her before you get to see her without makeup?
Is that your priority? Because I mean, if that's not your priority to see her without her makeup, I mean, like also though, if that's a priority to you, then you need to knock that out real quick. If that's a deal breaker for you, the way someone looks like naturally in the morning, then figure that out pretty quick. But why waste any of your time with someone who you ultimately don't like? Or get to know them and then still reduce them down to what they look like without makeup on.
No, but see, this isn't about a reduction. It's about how long it takes to find out natural things about a person. That's pretty fucking big.
Natural
how you look without makeup.
We're equating like character things to face.
You said what?
We're comparing someone's character and getting to know things that are like actually about them to like what they look like out the shower.
Right. Okay. And to that point, knowing someone's character, I can't give you on a first date. But you guys are saying that I want to know. I want you to bare your soul and everything that you all do as it relates to something that I might not like in a month or two.
You can tell Isaac don't want to tell anybody shit. He's talking about you expect me to bare my soul. Like we asked you that. We asked if you're poly and if you got kids. Like
you can pick and choose like what you want to disclose. And every relationship is different, right? There might be some people that you've only been engaged with for like 2 months and it feels like 2 years. And then other people where it's been 2 days and you're like, yeah, I'm not telling you shit. Like,
okay. I mean, the relationships evolve. So on the first date, if those questions are being asked and answered, then fine. But some may take a second or third or fourth or fifth, you know, so it evolves. So it depends on the two individuals, you know, engaged in that particular relationship or acquaintance, if you will. So it evolves, in my opinion.
I also feel like, Al, I agree with you, but I also feel like it depends on what that deal breaker is, like what Aisha said. So I feel if we go back to the poly example, it's like that's an entire lifestyle. So that is a really big deal to not disclose that on a first date. If you feel like using Aisha's example, the way that a person looks in the morning is a deal breaker, then you need to go ahead and be upfront about that from the beginning. So we're not wasting time, especially if you know that that's something that's not going to change for you.
Well, Laura didn't want to deal with me because she said she likes Stefan. I don't know who Stefan Urkel is. I was trying to find it out.
Well, I have a question though, because a lot of times we're talking about first date things, but to Rashida's point, a lot of us probably have experienced being in relationships with people and getting to know them over time and realizing that they're not even out of the 90 days, like they're years later, they're a whole different person and not evolved. There's things that they still didn't tell you about who they were, and it just took time to get to know. So someone can start off on the right foot and seem great for a while. And as you get to know them, go through things with them, after going through things with them and seeing how they handle that, people pull off their whole mask and you're like left with just the wig cap down there. Like, what is this? Like, who the fuck are you? So I think that like I don't know if anyone wants to share, but like Rashida, you had a great point to being with someone who dropped little nuggets. And I know you're not the type to make something out of nothing. So I'm sure they were giving you something that seemed like they were on that page. But that's a big deal breaker to be like, we want two completely different lives. And you don't want to be the person who waits around for someone to change their mind, because I don't think that's fair. I believe in respecting people where they are and leaving them the fuck where they are. Like, bye. You don't want kids or to get married. If that's what you want, then like, I didn't even need to take 2 years. That's like a 2 month, a year.
I agree. Now, I think some of these are post-sex discussions. Would you all agree? Or do you all think these are pre-sex discussions?
I don't think so tied to sex. Sex is separate. Like I don't think that this is tied to sex. I think these are relationship questions. I don't think these are sex questions.
Okay.
I'll give an example, Isaac. I have a good temper. My friends call it like Queen Feisty, right? So I like, if you're doing escalation with me, I'm gonna meet you right there. So okay, we doing this? All right, I'm gonna meet you right there. And so I'll do representative as far as putting my best foot forward. I try and be on my best behavior. I try not to curse people out on the first date or whatever. But I tell people that I have a temper and at times, and I like to be with someone that can de-escalate me, because sometimes I need that. I've gotten better because I do yoga and meditation now, but I disclose that I'm feisty. So if something's going down and I have to check a situation, then I do it very quickly, and it's like in your face, it's aggressive, but it's just a swift course correct. Like I get it straight, I get everybody straight, like we good. And so some people who are like, not like that are like, oh my goodness, you just dove in there and checked the shit out of that person. It's like, yeah, I just let people know like that's part of my personality. And so if some stuff is like going too far and if somebody needs to get straightened out, I'm going to be there for that. I don't back away from conflict. So I tell people, and I hate that, I have a bit of a temper. I check people sometimes so that it's not a shock to them that if it happens, and then I need to, people who I'm going to be with, they need to know that. And most people are like, cool, I like that. Oh yeah, go for it. And so sometimes I'll be like, oh, I'm sorry, is that too much for you? So I kind of do like a temperature check around it just to see like their reaction to it, because that's just me. And so if that aspect of my personality is a problem, I need to know that, and we need to establish that,
Is that something you're working on? Like, is this something that you're like, this is just who I am, I'm like this? Or is this something where you're like, I'm actively working on how to not escalate situations, instead of like, because what I heard you say is like, I need a partner who will de-escalate. And it sounds like you're putting the responsibility on someone else to like manage something for you. And it could just sound like that, but it's like,
well, as far as what I see, so I'm actively working on, like I said, I meditate and I do yoga. I've gotten a lot better about it. But that part of my personality, like if I see a bunch, like I'll give an example. I'm in a sorority. We were having a screening for a movie. I forgot which movie it was, but there was just a woman there with 2 small children after 6 o'clock, and the kids were cutting up. And the lady proceeded to try and curse out the person next to her because her kids were cutting up. And I was like, absolutely not. You are a guest here. You're breaking the rules. You brought your kids. We made an exception to even let you in. And you will not disrespect our guests for this event.
Ooh, girl, we're getting a taste of it.
Right. You will not disrespect our guests because your kids are loud and your kids are wrong. So I'm gonna be contacting an usher immediately because you are being uber disrespectful, and this is our event, and I will not stand for it. As I have breath in my body, you will not disrespect our guests for this event because you brought your children.
If I have breath in my body.
If I got breath in my body, you're not doing this. And so, so my soul was like, Mel, calm down. Mel, calm down. And I'm like, no. And I was like, you can be loud and wrong, and I'm gonna be loud and wrong right there with you. But what you're not gonna do is be at a movie theater this late with your children who clearly are tired. Clearly it's past their bedtime. So you have a choice. I'm getting the usher. So you got a choice. You can course correct.
In other words, you turned into a Karen? You turned into a Karen? Like
I'm a black Karen. I'm a black Karen.
Very specific, though. Like
no.
You was asking for supervisors and managers. It's like, man, I need to speak to the supervisor because.
But can we give her credit for like leading with this with the dude or with anyone? Because I think that temper is some shit that I personally, even with my girlfriends, I avoid that shit like the plague because I don't like people who can't handle themselves or get you looped into some stuff because now I'm there with you. So I appreciate that while you're working on it, you let people know that, hey, this is who I am. So you're not surprised.
FYI, I like to set shit off. You know what? It's funny. Aisha, I remember I was going out with this one woman one time, right? And all I recall was that she kept saying, this might have been like about the second or third time that we had gone out. And all I remember was we was out somewhere and we start drinking, and she kept saying, yeah, because I pop off. You know what I'm saying? I like to pop off. She kept using the word pop off, right? And the way she was saying it, like I could feel that something was about to occur. And sure enough, man, by the end of that evening, she was showing her ass. And I was like, yep, that was the clue that she was giving me. Right?
I'm not to that level. It's usually based out of disrespect and people just being super disrespectful. But I've gotten better. Like I'm not as I used to be. I'm not. But my friends know that about me. Like my friends, so they'd be like, "We're doing a brief ahead of time."
It takes time. I'm a hothead. Like if you saw me 10 years ago, I would have been like, "Oh, let's like pull this car over and like beat her up right now." I've had lots of therapy, lots of like self-work, but it doesn't change overnight.
Stop it. Okay.
I'm the total opposite. Which is why I picked Cruella DeVille for my costume tonight. So I've been told.
It's because you evil.
I've been told that I'm kind of cold-hearted because of how I can cut people off. But I'm not confrontational in a sense of like fighting. I never really did that. You know what I'm saying? Like I always felt like we could have a disagreement. At least that's how my parents have always told me, like, you won't be a favorite of everybody. Always know that. But at the end of the day, you can always, with another human being, have a conversation. And if y'all got differences, y'all got differences. If y'all can agree to disagree, great. If y'all can come to a conclusion, great. If not, then that relationship wasn't meant to be. And
Brittany, you, Mel, and Tina all look like y'all would hype each other up and fuck someone up.
Too. Oh, I'm gonna hype you up. I understand that. I'm gonna hype you up, but I'm only gonna fight if you need me to fight. Like if you be like, bitch, jump in, then I'm in. You feel me?
Tag
me
in.
Like, bitch, you got me.
Okay, I got you. Let me know if we fight. Are we fighting? I don't get to fight.
We ain't fighting because we cute. We don't need to do that. But at the end of the day, my whole thing is this. I'm real quick in terms of like analyzing people's work.
Oh, did we lose her? Her computer was like, bitch, you about to lie. We gotta cut you off.
The lie detector fly came in. The lie detector fly was like,
That is funny. Okay, wait a minute. So I recall once on a podcast. Matter of fact, Daniel, you were the guest on this particular episode, and we had a segment where and it's unfortunate that Brittany isn't here because she came up.
Who's Daniel?
Term. You said what?
Who's Daniel?
Oh, I'm sorry, Steve. So yeah, Steve, you and we'll get into this in a minute. But on the podcast, we were talking about the representative, I think, a little bit. And Brittany coined this new term that she called 2 pay periods. And the basic gist of it was, you know, she shared that it was a rule of thumb where she needed to be dating a guy for at least 2 pay periods so that she could determine his legitimacy. Like, and her logic was that, you know, guys know how to flex hard up front, but, you know, like, and for the most part, because, you know, they might sacrifice that first paycheck. Like, they'll sacrifice that first paycheck and just pay the bills later. But if you could see a person, you know, flex for 2 pay periods, which in most cases is probably a solid month, then you know that you're dealing with the real deal, right? So the question,
to keep it together for 30 days. Like, even insurance sometimes makes you wait 90. Like, two pay periods, that's it.
Pay periods is what Brittany was saying.
Because look, let me tell you, that's the bottom of the barrel. Okay, them the ones that look good on the outside. Them the ones that look good on the outside. Know the game. Okay, got that mouthpiece on him, but he ain't shit. You feel me?
I've kept it together for 30 days. Like,
we've kept it. Real people can keep it together for 90. What I'm saying is, you only need 2 pay periods to point out the fuck boys. Okay, you only need 2 of them because you can do it faster. You cannot push off.
There's always signs earlier. You just ignored them.
No, I'm just saying, like, if you need to go 30 days, I don't.
Okay, but wait a minute. But okay, so beyond them being fuck boys, right? I'm talking about like the flex of, you know, I want to wine and dine a woman on the first couple of dates. So we go on the buffets, we go on all these nice places, but I know my paper.
Wining and dining is not a buffet. So let's be clear.
No. I said buffets, which is one of the highest end steakhouses in Chicago. So buffets, right?
Oh, buffets.
Buffets, right?
How you spell that? How you spell that? How you spell that, Isaac? Can y'all spell that?
BAVETTES, right? Voted the best Chicago steakhouse in 2019,
it is
right? So
good. I won't even
high end, right? So I'm saying, right, like these are the places where you go. Yeah, by the way, super fly place. But so like, you know, we going on all these dates. My question is because this is a part of the courtship process, and women like for guys to, you know, roll out the red carpet, right? How long do you expect that behavior to last? And if it doesn't, do you think that that's a sign of like a bait and switch? Like is it realistic to maintain that?
I don't do anything the whole time. I don't do the like, oh yeah, when we first started dating, we're going to these nice places, and now it's like, oh, I got this 2-for-1 coupon at McDonald's.
Right.
No, I mean, you can have like high end.
I'll leave with 2-for-1.
No, I'm not saying anything's wrong with 2-for-1, but I'm just saying like switching it up. Like you can do
2-for-1
high end and low end and picnics and things like that. But I just need consistency. Like whoever you are needs to be who you are the entire time.
If you don't have money to start, then don't have money. But don't flex and portray something and lead with what you're not, because you are setting the bar and setting the standard. And then I don't think people should set up for shit they can't sustain. Absolutely. Because that's when you end up in a relationship with someone who's unhappy because you're not doing the things that you originally did to get them, whether you're a man or a woman.
Absolutely. And Daniel, before you jump in real quick, I'm gonna just go ahead and jump out here and say real quick, I'm sorry, Daniel, but I just want to throw it out there before my internet start being weird.
You apologize to me? Wow.
I did today. Look at you.
Mercury's in retrograde. Mercury's in retrograde.
Right.
And I'm gonna keep it 1,000 right now. Like, I know, you know, there's some women who feel like, you know, oh, you know, money don't mean anything, blah, blah, blah. Nice. Okay. I work too. Okay. And if I take myself and deal with myself in a certain type of way, then that's what I'm looking for my mate. So just like Aisha said, if you get that vibe off me and you start off trying to take me to places that I would take myself, but that's something you can't sustain, you are a fraud. You lied to me, because I don't want to later decide or figure out that this is something that you was just putting on the front in order to, like, you know, right, to be like super awesome in my eyes, and then you gonna take it away. At that point, then it becomes superficial, because it's like, yo, like, you got to at least be able to meet me at the point where I can take care of myself, like at what I can do for me. Like, that's just me. Like, I'm not.
See, I'm like that, Britt, but not with money. I'm more so like that with emotional availability and with quality time and affection. and I know that that is something that can grow as you get more comfortable with sharing space with a person, from like them being a first date and a stranger. But something that I need is like, I need that consistency in that area, or I can't be in the relationship, because I know that that's something that ultimately sustains me. So someone who comes in strong with the attention and the affection, those type of things, if you switch and all of a sudden that's just not who you are, you can't maintain that relationship for me would not be successful. Versus like, I don't need someone to, I think I'm fiercely independent when it comes to money. Like my husband and I still split groceries. Like, so I don't need someone necessarily to wine and dine me. But if you're not going to cuddle me and give me affection and attention, like I'm emotionally exhausting in that area for someone who doesn't know how to flex that muscle. So I would need them to exit stage left immediately.
And see,
because I will drive them crazy.
Uh-oh. I think she might have going out again.
Brittany's internet is she's still on.
Would you say praise God?
Daniel, I think you were gonna say something too.
Okay, so I'm getting clarity here. Okay, so I want to know where I can start, right? So I can start with Uber Eats, right? That's where we can start at. Then I can rent out a nice restaurant. I'm thinking February 14th, rent out White Castle, right? You know, they do something real nice for February 14th. It's all nice and red and lit up. So we do that. And you know, I mean, from that point, we can go somewhere, right?
I know how much it costs to rent out like a fast food place, and yes, that would be okay. That would be acceptable.
I'm not doing this. Okay, so one thing that I'm curious about.
No. That's not acceptable.
Thank you.
That's a waste of money.
February 14th.
You talking about rent out?
No, because if you're gonna rent it out, I'd rather you go ahead and go purchase a CD, a certificate of deposit, and hand that to your girl and say, I'm gonna take you to White Castles. I'm gonna buy you what you want, whatever you want on there, and you're gonna also get this certificate of deposit, and you're my girl. I mean, no, that's not acceptable. That's a sucker's move.
Tell them, Clarence.
We gotta be smarter.
Listen, you guys can say what you want. The actual player's move is to stun a little bit up front, right? Until you hook them. And then at that point, as they know you, they may be a little more receptive to these things that they didn't find to be very desirable up front. Like, listen, I didn't invent the rules, okay? I just play by them, okay? So we're not going to sit here and pretend like this is not the way that courtship has happened generally. It's generally happened in a way where it was like, okay, I'm going to put my best foot forward. I'm gonna try not to be crazy on this date. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get it that we're in this space now with 2020 and with social media where we're all trying to live our best lives. But I mean, it's like most people on some level are projecting their representative, right? And it is incumbent upon the datee, right? Not the dater, but the datee, to determine what's bullshit and what's not. Because nobody is going to tell those things about themselves that they think is unattractive or undesirable, right? And so, like, that's even why I was like, I hear what you all was saying as it relates to polyamory, and that was obviously a large, thing that someone clearly needs to know about. But I'm talking about like those other like little smaller things that people just don't find to be super attractive, right? Like, or it's that little piece in you. Like,
what are these things?
Hell, Mel's just said one about her having set it off moments. Like, okay, old girl told me that she liked to pop off, right? She probably should have kept that to herself. She probably should not have told me that, right? Then maybe if she had that moment, I would have said to myself, you know what, maybe that was an isolated incident. But you're going to tell me up front, oh, I'm telling you, I pop off. Then you pop off. I'm like, this motherfucker crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, okay, warning, result, right? But had she played regular, we might have had more time together. You know what I'm saying?
The thing about it, Isaac, is like, were you wanting, if she's telling you up front, I pop off, and every time we go out, I'm probably going to be popping off, did you really want to deal with that?
Absolutely not.
That's what it sounds like. It sounds like she has something going for her where he was like, damn, you fucked this up too soon. I didn't even get a chance to enjoy you, blissfully ignorant. Now you told me you're crazy and I got to actually use that information and make a better decision.
Exactly.
But maybe that's the best part about
it
this.
It was a gift that she told you that up front.
When she said I popped off, you were like, I don't believe her.
No. Okay. Yeah, a little bit, right? Like I was like, well, okay, so it was a little weird the way that it kept getting injected into the conversation, right? So I knew that it was a red flag, and had the evening not ended the way it did, it had an expiration date, right? But I'm talking about the like courtship, and maybe see, I'm kind of on an island a little bit, right? Because I got Steve that's down there, and the cowboy. We'll figure out what the cowboy represents in a moment. But like, guys know what I'm talking about, right? This is a hunting game. This is conquest. We routinely will try to become what we think the object of our desire wants. And this is not 2020. This is who we've been since the beginning of time, right? What did Chris Rock say? That guys would live in cardboard boxes if they can get women. Everything we do on some level is to attract the object of our desire, right? Like we get expensive cars and big houses because we know that the objects of our desires want these things. It's not necessarily because that's what we want, right? And so here's another question. The masks that we wear to society, do you think that it is people's intention to deceive? Or do you think it's them attempting to protect themselves from something, right? Because maybe men, and I'm speaking from a male perspective. You guys will have to speak from the woman's perspective and the evolved woman's perspective, right? But like as a man, like I'm curious to know, like, do you think that how do I put it? Like showing your true self means that you can't attract the object of your desire, you're afraid of repudiation, then you become what you think people want, right? So like, do you all think that the mask that we wear is deception, or do you think that it's a person attempting to live their best life, right?
The way that you describe that is a narcissist. You're describing,
you said what?
The way that you're describing it is a narcissist. You're not describing someone who is not a narcissist. That's a very narcissistic
In what way?
I don't think it's narcissistic. It's a con artist.
That's a con artist?
That would be my ex-husband then. That's what my ex-husband did. So
bring him on. Where's he at? No, I'm joking.
I don't know.
No, I'm joking. Let's not bring him.
But Isaac, what you're saying is like, I'm gonna be a chameleon for the sole purpose of gaining what I want, not with the intention of like actually wanting to maintain what you get. You just want the accomplishment and then to move on to something next. And so it's kind of like a disservice to yourself. Like that seems like a very empty existence.
I don't think that's what he's saying.
Thank you, Steve.
What's he saying?
It's a challenge, right? It's a challenge for him to, there's a woman that he wants to pursue, and it's a challenge for him to like be the guy that she wants.
Everybody, why waste someone's time like that? Be who the fuck you are.
Where y'all coming from is a place of, from what I'm listening to, y'all coming from a place of, okay, this is a guy that spots somebody and goes on to attain these things because he believes this is what this woman wants. I don't think that's what Isaac is saying. Isaac is simply saying that most of the things that we do, if not all, for some guys, is really just because we know that this is going to attract women that we like, right? So otherwise, we wouldn't care. We don't care about what guys think of us. When it comes down to having a nice car.
I disagree. Men do everything for other men.
Men
that
is a lie.
Like women, men do it. You're fucking crazy. Men
that's a lie.
care about other men.
I'm a man.
No.
She gonna tell us.
Right. We do not.
No, I'm sorry. The level of patriarchy and misogyny that happens to women, men don't really fucking care about women. You care about women as it relates to sex, or as it relates to accomplishing something or getting something from them. But in terms of whose opinions, a lot of men, maybe not you all in this room, but a lot of men do things for the respect and for the gaze of other men and wanting to be looked at by other men.
We really do not. That is in no way a concern of ours, right? And I'm speaking for myself. You came from a place, I really want to try to touch on everything, but I feel like I'm gonna miss it. You spoke about men not caring about what women feel, or what was that you said specifically?
I said patriarchy and misogyny. Those two words. Go ahead and dispel it as we live in 2020. Right
well,
now.
no, I mean, you may have some folks who feel like that, but men, from my perspective, go through stages. Earlier on, there's that exploratory stage where you're trying to find out what works. And again, the objective is to attract, someone, a woman or women. So you are exploring, you're observing, you're observing others to see what works, what doesn't work. But as you mature, and you find yourself, then it's all about, who wants to accept you for you. That's it. So therefore, I'm not concerned about any other guy.
No, because we're not trying to get up with no other guy.
Al, can I ask you a question?
Not everybody.
Sure,
I'm not talking about you, Clarence. I'm sorry.
Al, when did you make that transition from doing things, from chasing this like moving target of what does this person want me to be, to evolving to say, this is who I am, and I'm going to attract what's authentic to who I am and what will love me for who I am, not what I'm trying to be.
It's not about what someone wants me to be. The question is what works.
Right.
Okay. So what works, and depending on what your intentions are. So I think it was mentioned earlier on, some folks are just out there, just hanging out, just, doing whatever, flexing, whatever they're doing. But then there's other folks who are looking to settle down. So as was shared earlier, there are certain things that are deal breakers, and that comes over time. You hear folks getting married or engaged for whatever, 3 months, 6 months, whatever deal is. In my opinion, that's way too soon, because you want to know what they look like without makeup. You want to know what ticks them off. You want to know these things. And basically, when you're making a decision, it's as sound as it can be in your mind. Yep. So it's something that evolves, So, but to your point earlier on, I don't know if any guy is doing anything to impress any other guy.
I'll give you an example of a time that I did something to impress a girl. And it was only because, so this is a woman that I was with. She ended up leaving me. And from my perspective, it seemed like she was leaving me for this guy who had this certain appearance about himself. So in my head, I'm like, let me do all the things that he's probably doing. He's fit. Let me go to the gym. He dresses really well. Let me get a whole new wardrobe, right? Let me change up myself to appease this woman that I really want. In that case, it wasn't necessarily to be deceptive, but I really didn't have any idea of, I guess, who I was or valued that at least. I really cared more about what she was looking for, or at least what I thought she was looking for.
Let's be honest, because you were really interested in the end prize.
The end prize was her, not sex,
right.
It was just,
Right, so therefore, that's what I mean. The end prize was her. So no matter what, you wanted to make sure that she was taken care of, right?
Yeah.
Which goes back to most guys like to take care of their women, and that's it. I'm gonna leave it there.
I think that when Aisha said like men like to do things for other men, it wasn't like in a homoerotic type of way. It was just more of like, men like to impress other men to show that they have like more status, that they're the guy. Like how many guys are showing off their, their jobs, their cars, their girlfriends, like what they're wearing, like getting, this new sound system, like everything is for, the male gaze.
No.
It's like the gorilla pounding his chest.
Wait a minute. I'm sorry. What'd you say, Rashida?
It's like the gorilla pounding his chest. Like you want other men to recognize
what kind of man you are.
Yeah. There's some instances of that. I'll agree with that. But I think those men who have, who know who they are, have a sense of self-assurance. I don't think I've known of folks who've done that, to your point, but I know many folks, that I hang with anyway, does not.
Right.
Even that notion though, I still challenge that. I still challenge that notion.
Even to the point of what Aisha said, and just also what Tina said, like just to add like a little bit more clarity, in terms of, I guess, our stance, and again, just like what Aisha said, the disclaimer that you put out was, you may not necessarily be talking about the men on this call. So what I'm about to say isn't necessarily referring to the women in this call, right? But that old, I think it might have been Shakespeare or whatever, that did the play Lysistrata, which basically kind of got bootleg and became Chirac. The whole premise around that, right, which was that women run men, and that women could could change things if they all kind of collaborated, right? So what I'm getting at is, it's not necessarily that we don't care what women think. It's that the type of women that men may be going after may not care about the same thing that you go after, right? So don't think that all women are out here super progressive, super, understands about the patriarchy and death to patriarchy. Nah, a lot of women are down for this shit, right? That's why you have 55%.
A lot of women are trying to survive. A lot of women, let's be honest, are trying to survive and do the best with the odds that they have.
So Aisha, you're telling me that 55% of white women voted for Donald Trump because they're trying to survive, or because they actually like the patriarchy? They are actually in agreement with that shit. Everybody's not on board.
No,
everybody's not on board.
But if you're going to make it political and just specifically to speak to that, obviously I'm not a white woman, but I think that a lot of white women benefit from their proximity to white male patriarchy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that in itself is still a level of survival. It's not exchanging your privilege. It's still saying that you still may be getting abused, but you're not a slave. You're not an enslaved person getting abused. It's still a method of survival. And I think that it's very hard to look. I think it takes a lot of grace to look at someone's situation and say, wow, this person may be doing this because at a level they're trying to survive and make the best with the odds that they have. Like, that's true for some people. There's always the exception to that. I'm not saying that's everyone. We can't speak in absolutes, but like, I'm not about to sit here and have a conversation about these vapid ass white women that voted for Trump. Like, I'm talking specifically to, like, as it is with romance and relationships. I think a lot of women are playing their odds. If you have your physicality is what you have, you're going to make the most of it while you have it. If the things that you value and you see as being lucrative, trying to attain a man that's going to wine and dine you, even if it doesn't, not sustainable. If we look at what's in media, a lot of these relationships are so disposable and so transactional that people are just trying to get the most they can while they can get it and flip it into something better.
I agree. I agree. But I do know that, or at least, and again, this may just be and when you said that, you didn't necessarily mean it in like a homoerotic type of a fashion. We didn't even take it as that. I just know that a lot of guys really don't. And you are right. It is a pissing contest. And I think really what it's about is the objectification sometimes probably of women. So we may, like as a whole, consider women objects of our desire. And so we turn into whatever it is that we need to get in order to get this trophy. But for ages, women have always been the biggest trophy. Like, because what good is it to have this big house, this fancy car, if ain't no women around you? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's always been, I've got this stuff and I got that. I remember growing up, guys, how we all play the game of dozens, and guys would be, oh, you got that. And it was always one dude that was hilarious, right? Snapping on everybody. The one way you can shut him up, and y'all forgive my language, but if you be like, how many hoes you got? That one always shut everybody down. Like the height of what it was that we were attempting to obtain was women's approval. You know what I'm saying? And on a personal level, you know what I'm saying? Now, we're obviously coming into a new space right now where we're realizing that the entire system is fraudulent, and you have a lot more women that are stepping forward like, okay, time's up. And I'm clearly all down for that, but I'm just saying that the things that we're doing, people do these things because they've worked in the past, right? And most men that I know, the stuff that they've been attracted to or interested in is women's approval. You know what I'm saying? From that perspective, but not to necessarily beat a dead point.
I wanted
at the space. Well, I'm sorry, Steve. Go ahead. Because we did cut you off. We did cut you off from a point that you was making earlier.
No, I simply was challenging the notion, about the whole beating the chest thing. I think that at the end of the day, if there were no women that cared about what it is that we had, if we had the idea that it was meaningless, we wouldn't care to show it off to no other guy. I think it all boils down to the attention that we receive for having these things from women. That's it. The guys, that's just something a little extra, but it has nothing to do with that in the forefront.
But for women, that was probably more about survival, right? It's like the man who has the most money could probably take care of me. I don't have to worry about looking for work. So again, for women, it's about like, you make the best of a worse situation.
and throughout history, women have been making the best out of horrible fucking situations. So even the notion that, well, women could collectively come together and change the fucking world. Yeah, if men weren't standing in the fucking way and would get the fuck out the way and allow us to do some shit, then yeah, we could probably do those things. But like, it's just kind of low-key infuriating for to hear a man just be like, if women just got together and just would do some work, I think that y'all run the world. We respect y'all. Y'all are queens. It's like, ooh, are we taking a step into the Hotep area where it's just like
possibly. But that is what Chirac was about, though, right? Like, was about.
No, it was about pussy, though. Like, let's be clear. It wasn't about like, oh, my wife or my partner won't talk to me anymore. It's like, oh, I can't fuck her anymore. Like, you know, that was what it was about.
I mean, without being crude, like on some levels, things are reduced down to that carnal space, right? Like at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? Like we've evolved. But if you take us down to our base, we are carnal in nature. We are. That's why a lot of people don't like polyamory and all this other type of stuff, because the idea of sharing someone physically is not appetizing, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, so yeah, we can't dismiss it. We can't dismiss.
So they sleep around.
You know, you said what?
We got 2 masks now. We got 2 masks.
I think religion, though, is the reason why polyamory has gone down. Like, that's like, if we're going to get to the truth of everything, that's, you know, like this whole like aristocrat and religion is the reason why people aren't polyamorous. Because we look outside of Western civilizations and that's like the way things were.
Okay.
Well, so there's definitely not a caste system here. You know, and polyamorous usually tends to lead towards more of a caste system, meaning the totem pole effect and things of that nature. Totally off.
But wouldn't you say that people have that in dating anyway? You have a hierarchy, whether it's known or it's like just known by your friends. Any of my friends who date like multiple people, we know the hierarchy of the people they're dating and the level of importance.
Theoretically, that would be great. However, I mean, if I'm just meeting you out and maybe it's one of those speed dating events or something.
But even that has a hierarchy, though.
Right. All of
you literally are ranking them one after whatever.
Literally.
I don't deal in it.
There's a clear.
Well, and you know, my friend who I was telling you all about earlier, who is polyamorous, she was saying that in their marriage, how it works is like there is a primary, and they're called like I think they're just called a primary. And that is the primary, like that is the hierarchy of like everyone has a primary person. And so there still is a hierarchy. And I think to your point, Tina, around religion, it's kind of hard to determine if it is religion that caused society to go away from that. Because at the end of the day, like there are religions like fundamental Mormons who are like, that is their way of life, is polyamory. And so I don't know if religion is really the reason why.
What's that a religion as well as just like aristocrat, like, you know, thoughts and behavior?
I thought the whole reason for marriage was to guarantee the paternity of your child before Maury Povich and all that stuff. You wanted to be able to guarantee that this was your child. So
well, you wanted to have an heir, a male heir, right? Like that was the whole goal. And the more women that you could like shoot up the club with and potentially have a male heir like that, the better.
Well, see, okay, and again, because there are actually some people that I know that know quite a bit about this topic. That if I had known that it would have taken this left real quick and we were going to be, you know, discussing it, I would have tried to have them on because I'm trying to not. I don't want to necessarily appear as an advocate, but I also don't want to disparage people that practice it, because I do know that in a lot of ways people arrive at polyamory through very logical, you know, a very logical progression. And that's what I was talking about initially when I was saying that in the first date can sometimes be a little off-putting because of the fact that when the casual person thinks about polyamory, all they think about is how many women a guy gets to sleep with, as opposed to the added benefits sometimes of kind of having this group collective family structure or whatever. I remember they had that show on, I think it was the Learning Channel or whatever, and it was bizarre. I only saw a couple of episodes, but I only say that to say that as people kind of experiment more in this realm, I know it's not just about sex, right? Because there are a lot of people like, and I think you said this in the past, Aisha, there are a lot of people who are in polyamorous relationships that just don't know about it. You know what I'm saying? And it's so it's like, there's some people that are open about what it is that they do. And then there's some people that's like, all right, no, I'm still going to live a similar lifestyle. I'm just not going to broadcast it. You know what I mean? But nonetheless, we're at this
primates do that in nature. I started out in animal behavior. Most major primates practice polyamory, and we are primates. So,
yeah. So, what I would like to know at this point, because we're all sitting here in these garbs. I want to start with Clarence because he went from having one mask to two masks. So I know you kind of threw it together, in the clutch, but some creative action that you got going on right now. So can you explain to us what your representative represents?
Oh, just a changing mind. A growth, evolution, nothing negative, just it's a get creative. For me, being freaky it's really intelligence.
I don't even know why I just laughed when you said that. You didn't own it. You didn't own it when you said it. You said it like you weren't supposed to say it just then. You know what I mean?
Well, I try not to let a lot of personal things out about me. However, if you're able to evolve your thought process, it's a fucking turn on, and that's a turn on for me. Because if I can argue with you affirmatively one way, and it is definitely your opposition, and you can still argue back affirmatively for it, I'm turned on. That means that you can look at everything in its totality. And so to me, the two masks, switching it out means, hey, I'm functional. This isn't one direction over here.
Clarence, do you ever pick a fight to have like makeup sex if you say you get turned on by like affirmative arguments?
Oh, okay. So, back in the day, and when I did have a relationship, I've been celibate for like 10 years.
Wait a minute, how many years?
10 years, a decade. Oh. A little over a decade now.
Probably stress-free.
Can y'all see me? Can y'all hear me?
We can, but he's talking.
Oh, my bad. Damn.
Hey.
I want to say, while he's talking, I'm listening to Clarence. 10 years?
Yeah. It was totally personal because, I like to get down with the get down. I'll keep it 100. But at the same token, it was like, let's finish up school. Let's finish up graduate school. Let's take care of some things that you need to take care of. And then after that, life on life terms.
Did you pick fights to have it? Makeup sex?
Did I choose to pick fights? No. But
that was before he was involved.
In the bedroom, trust and believe I always win.
Okay. All right. Rashida.
Me.
Can you explain your ensemble and how you created what you decided to grace us with this evening?
It's Countess Scorpio Moon. Okay. And I would say mainly because of the inner, how can I word it? The inner sexiness and the inner sensual in all of us. I'm a Scorpio, as some of you know. Some of you don't know that, but so that has certain characteristics attached to the zodiac sign. And I think vampires have a sense of sensuality and mysteriousness that's attached to them. And that's, I'm layers, I'm an onion. So, but those are one of my layers. And I felt like that is the layer I wanted to present tonight.
Okay. So not the layer of I'm sucking the life out of someone else, right? Like that wasn't the angle that you was taking when you decided to go on the vampire active.
No, absolutely not. No.
Okay.
I don't know. Am I sucking the life out of you, babe? He said, well.
Right. Okay, Brittany. All right, so Cruella, right? Isn't that what she's called? Cruella DeVille?
Yes.
Okay. Brittany, is she still with us? I know she's
Somebody
having
picked
internet
up the
problems.
house phone again.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Let's go to Hawthorne, the other Brittany.
Right.
You gotta put your mic back on.
Oh, here we go. All right. You got to break this down because it's. I like AKA Tekashi.
Because I have decided to be Tekashi 6ix9ine's lace front wig tonight. I don't have a great reason for choosing this costume aside from Aisha saying that we had to dress up.
I thought you were.
However, it has gone very well. And Hawthorne does have his own story that, you know, he has had to tell. And, you know, we don't think about the wigs that celebrities wear and the shit that they have to go through to be a wig. I found out through an interview with Hawthorne that he's actually a classically trained lace front wig. And that is really where we are at this point. Not a good reason. I don't consider this one of my mini masks, but I do think that it's a great costume, so I'm sticking to it.
Okay. All right. So I've been dying to know. It kind of feels like we've got like some butterfly action that's going on right now. So do you want to explain exactly what I'm looking at, Aisha? Like who are you this evening?
Okay, so at my core, like when it comes to Halloween costumes, I'm not that person who wants to have like Rashida is the one extreme of like gore and puts thought into it. I'm the girl who wants to dress up sexy every Halloween, basic and consistent. And so I have like the full like piece on up here, the choker, the classic red lip. It felt so good to put on lipstick again. Having to wear a mask, I've been just chapsticking it up. But yeah, just the bunny, consistent black lace standard. At my core, I'm so extra in everyday life that this is like a very like basic bunny look.
You were like a pussycat doll every year, Aisha, and I like to see that you're continuing the tradition.
Braids? Like
I've never seen you in a different costume. In the years
honestly,
that I've known you, I've not
my
seen
friends have ever
I've
seen
seen pictures though of like.
And if we were in real life, I would wear my little faux leather booty shorts that Tina, Brittany hate because I wear them all this like consistent. It's the one time a year that I serve you basic bitch realness. Every other day I'm like, I'm a lot, but like basic bitch realness on Halloween. I love it.
Aisha, I'm disappointed. I thought you was gonna give me something deep, like I'm Black Butterfly, okay?
Isaac,
and I'm gonna tell you the reason
I give you
why.
something deep 364 days a year. I'm a Yamla, but like accessible and not like with a license. On Halloween, I'm a basic ass bitch. Still with some good advice.
Okay. All right, Al. What's with the cowboy? I'm trying to figure this one out.
Well, I'm celebrating the African American cowboy. We've heard of the Tuskegee Airmen. We've heard of the Buffalo Soldiers. The African American cowboy was part of that kick-ass, no-nonsense triangle. So that's what I'm celebrating this evening. Also, I mentor young folks, and I blaze trails and showing them the way to success. So that's what I do.
Okay.
I believe the original cowboy, like the word cowboy came from like the black cowboy. And it like went on to just talk about everyone. But
yeah. They should be cowboy.
Yeah. Steve, what's going on, Steve? How does this fit into the, you know, the energy of who you are and what you represent? You still with us, Steve?
You muted, Steve Urkel.
He muted.
Okay. Well, I'm.
Stop it.
I gotta get that frog out my throat. My bad. So Steve is representative of what I've been for the majority of my adolescence. So pretty much from the time that I was a young kid all the way up until I graduated, I was considered the nerdiest of the nerds. My brother will tell you, in high school, I never stopped by my locker. I carried every book in my backpack so I wasn't late to class. I am pretty geeky, pretty nerdy about a lot of different things. I'm the type of person that goes and looks up music scores for a variety of movies just because I like the sound of music. I don't need lyrics. I like anime, play games. I like Marvel and DC comics. I go and look up different series that aren't actually aired. It's a host of things that I do that make me nerdy by a lot of standards, and that's where Steve Urkel comes in at. Now, Stefan, I don't know where he at.
So you don't respect him, right?
Nah.
You like the hell with dude, you know what I'm saying? Okay, Mels, what's going on with this ensemble?
Speaking of anime, so I started watching Lovecraft Country on HBO. It's based off a book, and so I fell in love with the series. I am not a sci-fi person because I just feel like sci-fi is overwhelmingly white and male, and so even though I'm a nerd. And you would think I would be into sci-fi, but every time I just watch sci-fi, it was a turnoff because it's just white and male. So Lovecraft Country shows all these women, powerful women. There's one character, Orinthia Blue, who I am, who does time traveling in the series, which I recommend. Check it out, HBO. And so I am Orinthia Blue, and the best episode in the series is called I Am, and so it features Orinthia Blue time traveling, and she's like one of the smartest characters in the series. Although you would think I would go for Letty because it's Journey Smollett, and we got the same skin tone. I went for Orinthia Blue because she's a badass. She does physics. She's a brainiac like me, and she, holds down the whole series. So.
Okay, I'm about to say don't say too much because I'm only 4 episodes in.
The
last one I watched was the one that was kind of like Indiana Jones a little bit. They was like
after the haunted house.
Yeah. So I got to catch back up.
Okay, I'm not gonna spoil anything except for
man. I'm telling you, because on social media they making it look like it is. I guess these last couple of episodes they've been really digging in deep. So yeah, I'm gonna catch up. Okay, Tina. Are we in here, or are you just like, yo, I was trying to figure it out. I just didn't want to assume. Like, what's going on?
I'm a skeleton.
Okay.
So I think for a lot of people, skeletons like represent like death, but actually, I think it's like the underlying truth. And so anybody that knows me, like I'm truth serum all day, every day. So
bare bones.
Boom.
That's dope. Okay, look at you out here.
I be like symbolic and stuff.
Skeletons hold a lot of weight though, for real.
Okay, all right. And for me, this is my alter ego. The way it got created was kind of weird. It was actually from my cousin-in-law. I went to a Halloween party a couple of years ago. My family always used to get together and they would go to this. One of my aunts was a part of this. This. You know how they used to have like clubs. They don't have clubs the way that they used to. They used to have like group organizations. Like you have a few of them now, but like they used to really be big on that back in the 60s, 70s. I would say like creating these clubs. And so one of them, I think it might have been the Drifters or something. And they would have this Halloween party. It was always themed. And one year they did criminals or people that are involved in like the underworld. And so each table had to be something different. And the table that we were was criminals or something. So I just had to throw something together real quick. And I threw together a pimp. And when I was there, my cousin-in-law was just like, man, you know what? You look like somebody that I could hang with, that I would actually enjoy. You know what I'm saying? And he creates this whole character called Clyde De La Fontaine. And he was just like, yo, man, and he's a life coach. And I was like, okay, you know what? This has legs. Like I could do something with this, right? Because in my real life, I'm someone that a lot of people will come to sometimes for advice, or just not even necessarily advice, but just that ear that can listen reflectively and, you know, not necessarily tell you what to do, but help you figure out what it is that you want to do for real, you know. And so when we came up with this idea, I said, you know what, I do see some similarities in my alter ego, Clyde, you know, who is not a pimp, right? He's actually very international, right? He's well traveled and very open minded, but he also lends advice. And so I decided that I would be Clyde tonight. So that is my point. But back into this discussion. Okay, so there are a couple of things that you all said earlier. I was reading this article where a man said that he chose what he called an authentic style of dating, right? And we kind of touched on this earlier. And he said, in this whole like long thing that he, you know, wrote, he said the following question. He said, the following statement. But the problem is there are two styles of dating, and most people choose the representative style of dating. To me, I choose the authentic style of dating. What you see is what you get. I'm a very unfiltered man. I don't think about what to say. I don't filter myself at all. I'm not going to tell the world that I think one of my exes is the greatest person in the world if I'm pissed off at them and feeling other things. I talk honestly about my kid. I talk honestly about my life. I speak honestly about my business. I speak honestly of how I feel. If something doesn't resonate with me, if something doesn't resonate with me with somebody I'm talking to, I'll let them know it in a kind and loving way. I'm not perfect at all. I fuck up. I share my fuck ups. And so, you know, we were talking about early on, like some of the potential issues, you know, with being too real in relationships. I ended up having a phone call yesterday with a Facebook friend who may become a business colleague. And, you know, we got into this conversation or whatever. So after we got through the business aspect of the conversation on the back end, you know, we just kind of vibing, just going back and forth. And I started learning some things about her that I absolutely had no idea about. Now, we've been Facebook friends for at least about 6-7 years. She's come to the live show a couple of times, and every time I've seen her, she's always had just a very poised, kind of reserved, regal, you know, persona. Come find out, nah, she's got a sharp tongue. You know, she, you know, a Sagittarius, truth teller, is not afraid of bearing it, you know. And I found that fascinating, right? Because I was just like, man, like the persona that you project is so different from, I guess, how you are as I get to know you. And so this is a little bit of a backtrack in what it was that we were talking about earlier, you know. And I'm asked the question a different way as it relates to our social media world. Like, what do you all think is the responsibility that a person has in projecting an authentic representation of themselves via social media? Or do you think that it is their responsibility to do so?
I think it depends on what your job is. I think as a celebrity, you know, you can't necessarily always show up the way that you are. Like, you're a version of your authentic self, but you probably, you know, can't be totally authentic. But I think for everyday people, like, we should try to show up on social media like we are in real life. So that means, like, if you don't really like go out on yachts, you shouldn't pretend like you do.
A bow wow challenge on jets that aren't yours.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I think that it's important that one of the things we do.
No, you're not gonna just come in and make a regular comment with a whole ass eagle costume on, bro.
Look at those.
Good job. I thought you was joking. When you said you was gonna do that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Wait, Daniel, do you have an egg? Where's your egg?
I ate it.
Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, what was I saying?
We were talking about social media and
okay, right. So I would say that I think that we should be authentic. Obviously, a lot of people aren't. I think it's very important for celebrities to be authentic because they have a wide influence. But I think to have that expectation of anyone to be authentic is unrealistic. the best that you can do is be authentic with your followers and all of that, and hope that maybe somebody follows the example.
Pardon me, Patsy. We have the definition of authentic.
You know what? It's clearly a sliding scale. You know what? And that's a great. Okay. So when you ask that, why did you ask that? Because without me defining it, it seems like you may be understanding that there's various levels. So like, why are you asking for the definition of authentic inside of that question?
Because authentic could simply be that maybe all I choose to share with you would be the highlights of my life.
Mm.
Maybe I don't want you to know everything else. Or maybe I have a life that I have decided to move on from, and I want to start something new and authentic. I'm just trying to figure out the definition of it and what it means. You know,
being
I try to
authentic just means being your true self. You don't have to necessarily reveal everything on social media. Like, I'm super private, or even how you feel on things. I think for social media, it's one thing, you know, showing up and saying like this one thing, but in real, like, say I'm like, you know, I'm super progressive, but in my real life, I'm not a progressive. I'm actually like very conservative. Like, that's being inauthentic.
I agree with you. That would be a misrepresentation.
Okay, and I'm not trying to necessarily connect two things that don't deserve to be connected. But even we were talking about, you know, like the dating and stuff like that or whatever, or just getting to know people. Social media, we're in such a unique space now because, you know, we all have those friends that will sometimes say, oh no, I don't take this social media stuff seriously. This is just social media. Like, that's kind of the space that they inhabit. Like, how do you all feel about that? Like, people who intentionally portray something that's very different from who they are when you meet them. So really they're a sweetheart, but on social media, they're a bit of a troll. Like, you know, even if they're funny with the shit, like, do you all think that that's an okay thing to be, or do you take heart to that? Like, like you kind of being an asshole in doing that. And then it's like, oh no, that's just for fun. You know what I'm saying? How do you all feel about that?
Everyone uses social media differently. So having friends who use it as like a business, I understand that the way that they're portraying themselves is like a brand, and the real version of themselves that they share with their friends is different than what they put forth on social media to monetize. Everyone's not trying to monetize their personality or monetize themselves for a certain gain. So if it becomes annoying to me to know the different types of people they are, I'll just adjust on my end, but I don't really judge. And I also, it may not, even though I value authenticity at my core, I don't necessarily think people owe it to anyone to be authentic on social media. I think we all use it for different reasons. I think a lot of older people, 30s and older, understand that social media is performative and you're showing someone your highlight reel. I think that when you look at like younger people, teenagers, kids, they may not understand, they didn't grow up having like a different, like understanding life outside of it. So I think that like that's when it becomes a problem, when they don't know that this is someone's highlight reel. They think that this is what life is. And I think that that's when you set yourself up for being disappointed, because life is not a highlight reel. I also do have an issue with people who like post the crying videos or like the super low moments, because it can feel performative. And there are instances where you need your real life friends, or you need to take something to like a real life community for support and know when to check off. So I don't judge people for it. I try not to. And honestly, I'll just get in a group chat with like Brittany and Tina and talk shit if it's that serious. But like, I won't like have to go in on them in their comments. Like going to someone's page in their comments, telling them they're not shit. Like, I don't need to do that.
Okay. So just to make a mild pivot, not even a real pivot, like, because we're talking about, I asked earlier, are the masks that are being worn to deceive people, or is it to protect themselves, right? And so, you know, let's take Tiger Woods, for example, right? So like, this is a guy who was like America's sweetheart. And clearly he was somebody who had a very different set of needs. you know what I'm saying, and was living a totally different lifestyle than what he was projecting. Like, do you feel that the pushback or the outrage that he received, one, was fair, or do you think that even in that, right, like beyond the specifics of what it was that he was doing, do you think that this was someone that was attempting to portray something that he was not, because he knew if he projected his authentic self, it would not be received from the collective?
Celebrities are different. They're like a brand, like they're not real people. Like imagine if you're a celebrity and your representative makes you money. You don't get the luxury of being your authentic self, because that's not what you're building an empire behind. And someone like a Tiger Woods, you don't get to just be yourself. You're employing people. You are a brand, you're lucrative. So you don't just get to make a decision to be like, this is who I really am today. Like there's some people who are fortunate to build their brands around their authentic selves and being authentic selves now. But for a lot of people prior to this, you're being portrayed and you're being carefully crafted. You know, can we pick someone else who like wants to be black?
I think that he's living the life of a lot of athletes, right? They have their family and then they have their side thing, and he got caught. But this is what happens when you are the top athlete of your craft. I mean, we've seen this story time and time again.
Say he got called. It seemed more like she was just
about that life.
Like something happened.
Yeah, he got caught. She caught him.
I just
you don't think she knew?
Okay, I'm gonna stay out of that. I don't know anyone's personal bedroom stuff, and my personal pledge is to stay out of that.
Personal pledge.
I'm gonna bring a comment in from Felicia, which I think is a very valid comment. She said having side bitches is a lifestyle. That's a good question, because
having somebody to manage your bitches
it's a damn sure expense.
I don't think that it's necessarily a lifestyle. So like the question that Isaac was posing would suggest that it is, and I don't know that he was necessarily hiding it because that was his true self, but more or less like, you know you're doing something wrong and you don't want that to be in the public's eye.
He is hiding it because he's a celebrity.
But I mean, to suggest that it's his true self, like, I don't know.
Wasn't he a sex addict?
That's a PR move as the person that works for a PR agency.
He is a fellow nympho.
That is definitely a PR move. A lot of people that are sex addicted aren't really sex addicted.
He was just hoeing around, that's all.
Right. He didn't have good home maintenance. He did not have good home maintenance.
You gotta like fuck with people who have something to lose, or I will make a case for paying for people's privacy and secrecy and for them to respect you and move and keep it moving and like have that arrangement.
Yeah, he didn't have the conversation with Jordan about like making sure that your other women are, being paid.
Know how to act.
Or signing NDAs.
That's a part of home maintenance.
It is.
Home maintenance. Mel's gonna have a whole class on home maintenance after this for everyone who wants to sign up in the comments.
As an athletic trainer for athletes in the NCAA, home maintenance is the thing, and actually it was channeled through the athletic trainers and the other staff in the office. So I've seen home maintenance up front.
And she will have a class. You can sign up. Link in bio.
Yeah, I'll have a TED Talk later.
Keep them hoes in check.
Discretionary.
There's an art to home maintenance.
It is. And a budget.
I mean, put some respect on it.
Put some respect on what?
Well, and see, the problem is people don't want to invest. You have to invest in home maintenance.
So I'd like some education. What do you mean invest in home maintenance? Where would this investment take place? Is there a person to talk to?
Yes, there's people who maintain homes. Yes, so you have to pay, and then the NDAs are part of it. Like,
have you ever utilized such a service?
I know someone that provided a service for this university. Yeah.
Oh, seriously?
I'm shocked. I was joking.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
right. Now it's like, wait a minute, hold on.
You need to have a certain budget though to be. It's a line item. It's not for everybody. Some people just you got to maintain your DMs.
Right. You have to maintain your DMs. You also need to know like what kind of hoe is in your budget.
Right. You have to know what tier hoe is in your range. You got to alleviate the messy hoes. Messy hoes, you have to eliminate them. So.
It's an art form, honestly.
It's an art form. You have
to. So now let's dig a few layers deeper as it relates to the masks that sometimes we wear inside of relationships, right? Like, so off the top, and this is going to be introspective, right? So, forgive me for, getting in you guys' personal business, but have you all ever felt like you've had, or not even had to, that you choose to wear a mask in certain instances to kind of protect somebody? Like, I feel this kind of way. I know that they may not be prepared for what it is that I'm about to share. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to go ahead and just pretend to be somebody different in this moment.
I haven't pretended to be somebody different, but when I was younger, I tended to date a lot of narcissists. And I would tone down aspects of my personality to make them more comfortable, not because I needed it, but I valued their perceived comfort more than being true to myself. Maybe even more around their family, just like caring more about something outside of me than myself. So it wasn't necessarily being fake or not being who I am, but like there's certain parts of my personality that are big. And when you make yourself smaller for someone else, I've definitely done that and learned the hard way that that's just a disservice to me.
So inside of what it was that you just said, though, because, inside the same statement, you painted two different pictures. On one end, it sounded very noble, right? Like,
there's nothing noble about that. It was being young and dumb.
Well, no, because I mean, because you said, and I'm gonna butcher it a little bit, but the basic gist was that or at least from how it sounded, was like you were caring about how that person felt, and so you decided in that moment to just like take a step back, right? Like, and I guess what I'm getting at is, because as we're moving into this space where we're trying to be 100% authentic, there does come a point where it feels like, and I'll give you an example, without names. I had an encounter a couple of days ago with someone that, I was biting my tongue, but I realized that this person was manipulating the experience for everyone else, right? Like, so I was shrinking in the moment until I realized that the other people at the table was being agitated by this person's, energy field. Then I had to check it. You know what I'm saying? But like, sometimes, and what I mean by even sharing that is, in that moment, he did not care about how who he was affecting everyone else. And literally the statement that he made was, yeah, man, I like being around people where I don't have to be a different person in order to be around them. And so that sounded noble when he said that. But if the person that you are is taking away from everybody else's experience, is detracting their experience, at what point should you just fall back a little bit, right? And like, that's what I ultimately had to say at this table. And I tried to say it in a non-abrasive way. He didn't take it the right way, but I was basically saying like, yo, like, your energy is like, you killing our high right now, bro. Like just, man, we all just kind of want to just, deflate and just have a good time or whatever.
Well,
but with him, it was like,
I think that reading a room and feeling the vibe is different than someone asking you to shrink and tone down aspects of your personality because they're embarrassed by it or they're very sensitive to what other people may think. This happens a lot. I think we may have all experienced this to varying degrees, but my instance, it wasn't noble. It wasn't that I cared about someone, which I think you should care about someone you're in relationship with. This was someone saying, I care a lot about what someone may think about you being yourself. It was very unhealthy and toxic. And I think that when people are like that, you need to align yourself with people who embrace you and love you for who you are versus who want you in their life, but want to beat the things out of you that are good about you. So it's not the same situation. It's also like when you're younger, I think a lot of people experience like adjusting to fit someone versus realizing like, oh, this is something about me that I don't want to adjust for someone. This is something that's solid and not a variable. This is a constant.
Okay.
I've seen this at work. I know I've done it at work where I've shrunk from the authentic male. You know, the hot head gotta be nice and
girl, you gotta do that at work. You're getting paid to like not.
Right.
You want it to pop off, is what you're saying. You want it to pop off?
You can't pop off when you got the devil on your shoulder, like, swing on her. It's cool. Swing on her. Like, man, I gotta keep this job. They got this policy where you can't beat anybody up. You know?
They got this policy.
They got this policy.
That's every
They got this policy where I can't cuss people out and shit in the middle of it. You know, stop it.
What you're talking about is like a lot of code switching I think a lot of Black people, especially in predominantly white spaces, can relate to having to dim aspects of who you are. And I think we all may have experienced wearing masks in the professional world and having to be versions of ourselves that are not full.
Yeah, but I also think
opportunity to learn about
earlier is that something that like as you grow older and you evolve, you decide like, you know, what part of yourself you're gonna bring to work. Like you can start being authentic in these areas, but these other areas, nah, that's not for work.
Right.
Okay. All right. Well, so listen, let's go ahead and you know, twist it a little bit, because we also talked about you know, let your freak flag fly, which was a very interesting, you know, subtext to have. And I feel like we broached it early on. I think it was Brittany that was talking about like how in the early stages you can't necessarily jump in and, you know, you may not feel comfortable to just throw some freak shit out there or whatever, right? Like, so it's levels to it, you know. So I guess we can start with that, you know. And I won't ask specifics. I'm not going to ask you guys to bare your soul, but I will say this much though, like just because I'm curious and I care. What would you all say is your personal? If we had to put it on a scale from 1 to 10, I'm not even going to ask you what that scale entails. We're just going to say from your own personal assessment of your freak level, scale from 1 to 10, right? Where would you say you fall? Where would you say you fall? And if you have a significant other, do they match your level in that regard?
Considering all things considered, you know.
Is 1 the most or the least?
1 is the least. One, we're talking like none. Like we ain't doing nothing, and when we do, like I don't even really like sex like that. You know what I'm saying?
1 is only like, missionary. 1 is only missionary.
You know what? One might even be
on holidays. That's
right. On your birthday, only on your birthday, right? And it's gonna be real regimented. You know what I'm saying? That's 1.
So 10, all things considered,
negotiated 5 pumps.
I'm gonna go ahead and start it off. You know, as Mr. Low Rates himself, it don't get no lower than 1. You know, I'm a solid 1. Thank you.
Stop it. I don't even believe it. Okay. Oh no. I'll come back to that. Anyone else? I'm curious. Like what would you say your level is of experimentation as it relates to, you know, and we're talking about inside of a comfortable relationship, right? We ain't just talking about just on some regular shit. Like 1 to 10. I'm not even going to ask the specifics. I'm not setting too many rules. Just curious to know where would you all consider yourself?
I would say 7.5 to 8 for me. Significant, not a match in that regard.
Interesting. Okay.
I'm kind of torn on where I should rate myself, because there are things that I wanted to try but have not had the opportunity, and now I'm like, I'm 42, so I'm kind of like past those days. But so based off of that alone, I'm gonna give myself a lower score, and I'm gonna say I'm an 8.
I'm gonna give myself a lower score. Okay, yeah. And you're a Scorpio, so I know that 8 might be like my 14. You know what I'm saying? So, all right, I got you on that shit. All right. Anyone else?
I will say like a 7. I mean, I think it's like normal shit. Like I've always said, like you should be open to have the discussion with your partner. You should be open to everything and to have the discussion. But you might not be willing to try everything.
Okay.
What are we rating? Like what is a 1 considered versus what
one
is
considered
a 10?
Married on Christmas, and 10 is like I'll do anything once.
A sex swing. 10 is a sex swing.
Okay, I'll say this. I think that historically, if we look at the historical data of my life, I would rate myself probably, if a 10 is being open
rate your partner too, which is going to be awkward.
Well, I mean, but like your partners, I'm married now, but I've had different partners throughout my life.
That was part of it. Like if your partner, like if you guys are on the same level, your freak levels.
The compatibility.
I would say that like one of my first major relationships, they were 15. And I was open. So I think I got a lot of stuff by proxy that I was easily swayed, not necessarily like a hard sell, but there was a lot of stuff that in hindsight, I'm like, did they even present a valid case for why I should be doing this shit? I tried all types of stuff. It's like, and I think maybe because I was like open to it at a young age, it kind of influenced me as I got older. But I believe in being open to exploring whatever my partner wants to explore. And so if we want to be a 6 one day and a 10 the next day and a 1 the next day, like if I'm comfortable and in a safe, like an emotionally safe environment, I'm down to ride the wave of what it looks like. And I just think that like a real relationship, it's going to vary throughout the course of your life together. And just always like, there's nothing that I feel like I can't go to my partner and to him about, whether it seems like weird or not. Like I think that he creates an environment where I don't feel judged and I don't feel embarrassed. So I can always come
ones, period, all the time. Nothing else.
I always joke with him that I'm like, I want you to come to me and tell me what you want to do, because I don't want you to be one of these dudes in these Netflix docuseries where like there's some weird shit you want to do and you don't want to talk to me about it. So you go and do it with somebody else, and then you got to like have this secret life. Like you can come to me and talk about stuff and I'm not going to like and make you feel ashamed of it, because we're humans, and why not experience? If you can't experience with your fucking partner.
But
what'd you say, Tina?
I said some things they might be ashamed of because there's
I don't think there's anything to be ashamed
yes, there
of.
is. We'll talk offline, but yes, there is.
Name something. Name something that you think somebody should be ashamed of to bring to you.
If my partner told me that they were into bestiality, and I say that, I know it sounds crazy, but I grew up in Washington, and this is an area where people are known for bestiality. Like,
okay, you're right. That's the one thing. I like animals too much, like to objectify.
You like them in a non. That's what we're saying.
If Rashida came to you and was like, "I want to suck some people's blood," and that's
Girl,
what
I'd be like, "I am ready, right here. I have a vampire,
and I want to spit it on you from my mouth."
And you guys notice how I didn't give a number.
No, I didn't. I said I vary. Like I need my partner. Like I think on my own, I think I'm open to stuff. Like I would try anything once, not bestiality. Like that's never.
But you're saying you're like a solid 9 is what you're saying. You're somewhere you fluctuate around like 8.5, 9 is what you're saying.
I'm a solid 8. I'm open. I'm open to a lot of stuff. I'm a very solid 8.
Okay, so we're talking about our number in terms of things that we are available for, but one of the things that I feel plays a big part in relationships that sometimes it's not addressed, which is like your libido, right? And your frequency, you know, and how people handle that as you develop in a relationship. So have you ever been in a situation, you know, and I know that, well, nah, because even with a particular discussion with more women in the room, everybody still has a different space. Like, how would you feel? You know, they say that women typically hit their peaks I would say significantly later than when men hit their peaks. If men are hitting them in the early mid-20s, women are starting to hit them in like the early to mid-40s. What are you prepared? And this may not be fair to paint this picture because we don't know how it's going to play out. But like, what levels are you willing to either exhaust or experiment with as it relates to, because like when you think about it, like especially as it relates to a man, men have to be aroused in order to allow the act to go through, right? And so if you're dealing with a man that has a lower sex drive, it's only so much you can do to get that person in the mood, right? Like there isn't something special that we can do to arouse us if we just naturally aren't in that space, right? Like, so, I know we talk a lot about how, obviously relationships are a lot bigger than just, the physicality, but that is still a very important function of intimacy, so like how broad are you willing to experiment in that realm if you find out that your significant other has a significantly lower libido than you have? Like, at that point, are we talking about, like, are we talking toys, or are we talking, okay, now it's time for us to start having these other kind of conversations about how my sex drive can be fulfilled? Or do you at that point just say, you know what, sex is not that high up on my totem pole, and I'm gonna just deal with it myself?
I've had this conversation before, and what we having to have a very vulnerable conversation where you feel very emotionally safe to even talk about this, because it's sensitive to talk about being on a different level. So when I was in the position, we talked about it and we discovered that we were defining sexual intimacy and gratification different ways. So we had to come together in a relationship where we were committed to each other and wanted to stay in the relationship. With that being known, we decided like, okay, this is what intimacy looks like. And intimacy is not just this one thing or this one thing, but there's different ways for us to meet each other and to explore and to incorporate different things. It doesn't necessarily have to be toys, but it can be if that's what it is for you. But I think having a conversation with your partner where you feel safe to say, we're differing here, and this is important to us, and we're both committed to finding a way to meet each other because this is a part of our relationship we care about. So for us, it would be to redefine it.
And to add on to that, like, it's also important to like go to your doctor and see like what it is, right? Like I've had issues where my birth control was really affecting my libido, right? And so like there's a lot of things where you need to get them checked out to ensure that like, it's not a medical issue.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like there's so much conversation that really needs to happen around that. If there just isn't, maybe like there is no medical reason that anyone can find, and maybe there just is a difference in libido. I feel like that's where kind of having open communication with your partner comes in, because ultimately like there are so many different things that you could do in this space, even if one person isn't in the mood, where they can like still be involved, but they don't necessarily have to kind of betray their own needs in order to fulfill another person's.
Something else that happened, Britt, that makes me think of that is Tia Mowry was in the news recently because she openly shared that her and her husband schedule sex in between being parents and life and being busy. They schedule sex, and some people were it was like a hot topic where people were on different sides of how they felt about the scheduling of sex. And I think that stress is a huge thing. So a lot of people are affected by stress, especially right now, and they may not be able to get themselves in a mind state where they can even relax enough to be intimate with their partner, or your lives are really busy. And so personally, I don't think anything is wrong with scheduling sex. I don't necessarily think of it as scheduling sex, but scheduling time for intimacy, to say this is dedicated time for my partner, for us to do whatever. and to make time for things that matter to you. But if you think that like busy ass adults are just gonna have sex happen, life will get away from you and you'll become strangers.
It's just like scheduling date night, right? The date night look like anything, right?
So do you guys think that that's a wise thing to do sometimes, is to schedule sex?
I think if your relationship needs it, yeah.
If that's what you need, then that's what you need. Like, not everyone, like Aisha was saying, not everyone has that flexibility, and not everyone has that ability to be able to get into the headspace that they need to get into to like be intimate. So I would say if somebody's relationship needs that, great. I mean, ultimately it's do what is best for you and your partner. So if that's what it is, then that's what it is.
Yeah, Brittany, you probably have recommendations for weed strains that help too, right?
So I did find one recently. It's called Loctite, and I really like that one. So
really, wait a minute, Loctite. All right, hold on. Expound a little bit more on like what this does. You know, we legal here in Chicago now, so we can have this conversation openly. So, like, break that down. What does it do?
Loctite.
Well, it's called Loctite, and yes, like lock, TIT, just like but not with the GH. So not like I'm holding on to something tight.
Gotcha.
Wide open.
So it's like ecstasy a little bit, is what you said? Or you've heard?
I say that because this is the thing though. Some people do not like. Ecstasy is not a sexual.
Thank you for saying that, Brittany. I'm so tired of people making ecstasy be this wild, loose sex drug. Ecstasy is a love drug. It opens you up to love and openness and community. It doesn't make you want to fuck crazy. Like, but
sometimes that's what a man needs, Aisha, is a little bit of love.
Or a woman.
It's to be open up to love, okay?
And that's kind of what I think that Loctite is. Like, it's not a strand that's going to get you super high. Like, if you're wanting to just be baked out of your mind, like it's not that kind of strand, but it definitely is one where you're able to relax a whole lot and you feel all of those like love vibes, not as intensely as with something like ecstasy. But I do think it's a really great strand. But this is the other thing to know when it comes to cannabis in general, it's really dependent on your body. Like we all have an endocannabinoid system, and everyone's endocannabinoid system reacts to cannabinoids differently. So it's really dependent on, you finding what works for you. But Loctite is more of a energizing strand. So it's not going to make you really tired.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Has anyone in the room been in a relationship where, like a real, not a hypothetical, but a relationship where their sex drive differed from their partner, and they were the one, like they had to go to their partner and talk to them about it. They initiated that conversation.
Yes, I've been on both sides of the whatever. So I was married to what ended up being like a nymphomaniac. So and so basically after I got married, I was like, I will not as a wife refuse my husband anytime he asks for sex. And so I did that, and I felt like a sex worker. Like I felt like this was my job, and every time he wanted it, I said yes. And it was just tiring, and I felt like a prostitute for real. Like that was my profession, a prostitute. And so I was just like, this is not sustainable for me. And so I'm like, he's never gonna be satisfied, because even when I tell him yes every time, it's like there's no limit. Like, so it's just like, this is too much. And then, she was just complaining like, dude, get me out of here. So my lady person is like, exit, we need to exit. So yeah, no, that didn't pan out for me. And then
just real curious, so even inside of that space, like did you feel like you guys were vibing in other areas, but it was just that area where there was
he was abusive.
Okay.
Yeah, he was using me to medicate. Like that's so. But what I did decide is, okay, since he's an nympho, I'm gonna do what I can do comfortably, where it's like not straining for me. Where it's like I can what I felt was healthy and what I felt was reasonable. So yeah, then I got to the point where like, okay, this is the level, and this is whatever. So yeah, no, I dealt with that. But then now that I'm, 40 plus and I'm getting to my peak, it's like I'm dating someone significantly older, and it was just like, this person is extremely busy, like super duper busy, running like very important person, like super hella busy schedule. So trying to get on the schedule was the issue. And then like that person is significantly older and not on that, like they're chilling. So I just, because we're not dating exclusively, I just made the choice to bring in another partner because it's just like, I'm not gonna be able to get on a schedule. And I mean, the relationship is still good, you know, but it's just like, this is, you know, I'm not satisfied. So I just brought in a
Did y'all have a conversation, or did not y'all, but did you have a conversation with them, or were you just like, we're not exclusive, so I don't need to tell you my business?
Well, I was trying to hint at it, but then I sort of brought up some things, and he like re-emphasized like we're not exclusive, we're not expecting that. So then after we had that general conversation, I was like, well, it sounds like I'm free to do what the hell I want. So.
I feel like older men who are not as sexually active know that, and they're okay with that. Right. And they're just like, they don't need you to serve the purpose of constant sex all the time, like maybe your ex was. They want you to serve something different, and he was totally fine with you getting your needs met somewhere else. Was that like an ideal situation? Did you love that?
I just relocated, so I'm like, darn it, but. Yeah, it was. I mean, it was good. Like I'm liking being 40. You know.
How come women are always having to Frankenstein some fucking men together to make something ideal?
Honestly, I feel like men do the same thing.
When you're
stop, you care about what a chick looks like without makeup. She's over here.
Listen, no.
Relationships. It's like not the same.
No, that's not me. That is not me nor Clyde.
What you were saying, not how you're living. What you were saying.
No, but okay, but you know what though? This is an interesting caveat because I am kind of curious now. Like, and I before you say what you said, Mills, I was gonna say this next space. I would like to ask this question and have people try to answer it as objectively as possible, right? Like I don't want you all to internalize this, but I was curious about that, like in terms of if you found yourself in a situation, or no, I'm sorry, not you, but a person found themselves in a situation where there was this dramatic disparity of sex drives, but the other aspects are like popping off.
Yeah.
Do you think that that's a situation where there should almost be an expectation that, okay, like do you expect that a woman, because I'm saying historically women have been expected to just go along with whatever the man's libido was. So if he was having sex all the time, then even if your libido was lower, like males just said like, all right, I gotta accommodate. But if you seldom hear about the flip of that, right? Because stereotypically men are supposed to be just one to go around and have sex with everybody. But like what happens when the man has a low sex drive, and maybe not a low sex drive, but to the point that you just pointed out, like sometimes
a man have dated guys who have erectile dysfunction.
Oh yeah! Oh my God!
That's something that
40, I don't date 40-year-old men. I've encountered
young guys who have erectile dysfunction.
There's a lot of young guys who have been like overstimulated with like the amounts of porn that they
porn.
And I've dealt with that with guys that like we're not in a relationship, but we're like we're sexual partners, and at a point it's like, hey, like you're talking about it, like let's address it, and then they don't feel comfortable, and then it's like, well, I'm not getting what I need here, so bye.
Right. So you had to leave that situation because of sex primarily.
Well, I mean, if that was like what our relationship was, then yes.
Like
I had some people where it was like our relationship was just that, and then others where it was that, and we like would go out and do stuff. But it's also like I'm not gonna like walk on eggshells to like make you feel comfortable when we need to have this conversation. Like, what's going on here?
So a question for the guys, like the men, I should say, in this room. Have you ever had friends come to you and express their underperformance, their feelings of underperforming in their relationship, and ask? Because I know in my group chats with my girlfriends, if we're having any issues, we have an environment where we typically feel as though we can come and share and talk about it and get advice or get a referral to someone that can give us help. And so I wonder if men have that type of friendship set up where they can come to each other and be like, hey, I feel weird about this. Is this normal?
I've never had.
I have. I've had that. I don't think that it's. I think that it does rarely happen. And the person that came to seek some advice is relatively close to me. I don't want to air them out and say who they are, but they made a comparison between my relationship and theirs and wondered why or what I was doing that would arouse my partner to the point that they want to have sex as frequently as we did.
Look at Daniel still making these low. It's a very subtle sale. Like you're always like PR moving yourself.
I can't make a comment
at the
for nothing.
end though. The
smirk at the end, you know, like
at the end was the killer.
He came to me and was wondering like why my partner was so satisfied.
He came to me trying to figure out how I was able to consistently lay all this pipe. You know what I'm saying?
Ego
I had to let him know.
Okay, Eagle Man.
It's not. You know what I'm saying?
Shot word is pipe.
Basically,
I'm out here with the water department just
let me go ahead and just, like I don't know who y'all talking about, but I'm Mr. Low Rates.
But okay, so Mr. Low Rates, how did you handle it having your friend come to you? Did you give him real advice?
I did the best to give the advice, and the fact of the matter is everybody's different. You know, to give that advice, his partner may not have been, a very sexually active person. It may not have been anything that he could have done to enhance that for her. She may have some insecurities about herself based off of experiences. There's a lot of things to consider. So I simply told him to have a conversation with her and see what can come from that. That's about the best advice that I could give. But I've also,
Did he talk to her? Because a lot of times
I'm sure he did.
Never talk to their actual partner. And it's really weird that someone feels comfortable sexually being intimate with someone, but not talking to them.
No, I'm sure he talked to her. Whether or not there was any success, to my knowledge, no. But interesting enough, I wanted to kind of insert this a little bit earlier when we were talking about libido and the flip side of it. I'd actually been on the side of the guy that was kind of like, yo, nah, not again. We're not finna do this again. I happened to be on a cruise ship, and it was one of those, you on this ship for an extended period of time with this one person.
Was it like a Steve Harvey cruise? Like one of those like
I wish it was a Steve Harvey cruise because I wanted to attend that, but couldn't.
Tom Joyner.
Tom Jordan.
Yeah. No Tom Joyner slander here, because I had an amazing time on that.
Isaac's like, listen, there's a code in the bio.
Man, look, but no, like it was very so it essentially be anybody that's been on a cruise, you wake up, you might get up, get some breakfast. It was a wake up, okay, let's do something. Go get something to eat, get back to the room, let's do something. All
That's
right,
like vacation sex though, Daniel.
Okay, but see, I have a limit.
Daniel.
I had a limit. I had a limit then, and it may have been my age.
Like,
because
do I
when I
fuck you
was
this
younger,
much on land? Because I'm not about to fuck you this much at sea.
He's
when
like,
I was younger,
same on the cruise, baby.
When I was younger, when I was in my early 20s, that was nothing. 5-6 times a day was like a regular thing. But being like closer to 30 and all of that,
I already know what you're saying. You hadn't found drugs yet, and that was the thing.
No, it wasn't. I didn't want to. I never wanted to indulge.
Be careful with customs on these boats, son.
I never wanted to indulge in those types of substances for those experiences, because I always had a fear that my masculinity would be stuck in a position for too long.
It's happened. And I will say that much.
But there's something to be said though, Daniel, about vacation sex. Like, I mean, you're on, like, there's something there. We all know the term vacation.
Get my name right.
Mr. Low Rates.
Thank you.
You didn't take those low rates on that vacation sex.
Yeah, vacation sex is when you have sex like 5 times a day. Like you can just, because you don't have anything else to do, but do somebody else.
Lynn, you need to unmute yourself. I see all of the.
I was just saying exactly, like you have nothing else to do, especially if you're on a cruise. Like there's a lot of water
can't go
around
anywhere
you.
else.
There's literally nowhere to go. So you gotta
make. Y'all better stop
girl,
it.
You better go to that buffet or something, because I'm like,
no, I don't know. Listen,
you got calories to have some more of the buffet.
And listen, I don't even want this to come off as a full-fledged endorsement, but I will say though that my Tom Joyner cruise experience, like it was fucking phenomenal. Like, and I wish Brittany was still on the call. She's been having them internet issues. Because I would like to clown her, because Brittany and both Jessica, for whatever reason, felt like they had to get their ass up at like 8 or 9 a.m. to go to breakfast. And I had to let them know at one point, like, y'all know they keep making bacon throughout the day, right? Like, I don't want you to feel like we got to get there at 7:45, 8 in order to get fresh bacon. Right. If we get there at 10, they still gonna have fresh bacon. I did not understand why these, like, it was the most bizarre thing, but that cruise was incredible. And it was something to do every hour of the day. And I think that I hear what you're saying, Daniel, as it relates to the cruise. If you just go on a normal cruise, you kind of figuring it out. But if you go on one of them theme cruises, it's something to do. It is definitely something to do. And if you want to get up early and do the early shift, the mid shift, or the late shift, you can have a blast.
Daniel looks like he's not hearing anything that you're saying.
He ain't hearing none of it.
Fuck yourself, because he's not trying to do it.
Daniel is not here for it. Get it one time per day, and that's it. Once a day, that's all you get.
You know what? But Daniel,
like
what
maybe.
you should have done was put together an itinerary. You should have been like, okay, you should have planned out the fucking day so thick that there was no time, that you were like, okay, I'm gonna slide it in here, and then we have the whole day planned out.
But Daniel, though, I do know what you're saying. See, the fact that you used the cruise made it a little, different. But I
don't
did
stress
date
that whole cruise.
I dated a Scorpio. I dated a Scorpio whose libido was clearly much more robust than mine. Now, in the early stages,
smiling, that vampire smile. She's like,
listen,
you right?
Look, and here's what's funny, right? Okay, so she was maybe like 4 or 5 years older than me, and she was used to dating guys that were like 10, 15 years older than her. So we were in our early mid 20s, and she's used to dating people in their like mid to late 30s. And so in the early stages, when it was the new, I was like jackrabbit. Like, we can go 3-4 times and shit, right? But a good solid 6-7 months, maybe a year into the relationship, it tapered a little bit. But it wasn't because, it was because of a couple of different issues. But
that you're not gonna discuss.
Right, that he's not gonna share.
I mean, no, I can't. All right, fuck it. Like, all right, since you
put it out there. Can I just say that
Isaac, welcome to the hot seat.
Okay, all right. I'll share what it was. So she decides that she wanted to start a business, right? And the business that she wanted to start was a cleaning company. So me being the person, I'm Virgo, right? We are the sign of service. I was the person that was like, I'm going to help her get this business off the ground. We're going to do everything we need to do. 2 things happened with this. One, it put her under a lot of stress. So it changed the vibe, which I understood, right? Intellectually and emotionally, I understood. But 2, because she started this business and she wasn't at the space where she could hire a lot of people to do the cleaning, she had to clean, right? So I was in a relationship with the cleaning lady who had ashy knuckles, you know what I'm saying? It came in just looking haggard, right? Now, here's the deal. Stop it, Aisha, because I already see what you're trying to say.
I'm reacting to Tina. She said, okay. God forbid her knuckles.
Okay, right, because I was about to say,
fuck her now. She's
this isn't me saying that I needed a woman to dress a certain way, but when I'm used to you being this way for such a long portion of the relationship, and then all of a sudden, you turn into
I'm trying
Mary
to
Maids.
You're a Virgo, so I know what this is.
You feel what I'm saying? Like, I'm just saying, in that moment, not only was she not feeling the same sexual way that she was, I still thought she was beautiful. I didn't say this is a reason to break up with her, but I just wasn't turned on like, ooh, let me riff off them scrubs and tear your ashy ass up. Like, it was like, no, you know what I'm saying? Like, I wasn't.
Let me lotion those knuckles.
That's what I'm saying. Why don't you make it something where you get the oils and you're like, yeah, she was ashy, but is the operative word. Like, now she's not. Like you were like, I'm not about to do any of this fucking work. I met you and you weren't ashy, and now you are.
Honestly, I would meet her at one of the houses and get it on.
No. Okay. See, okay, that's funny. Okay, so 40-year-old me thinks like this now. 20-year-old me not only didn't think like this, but honest to God, I didn't hold that against her, right? I didn't hold it against her. So what ended up happening was I ended up what it turned into was just us not having sex very often, right?
Wait, so Isaac, I have a thing. So Alicia on the live stream said her ashy knuckles were smelling like Clorox.
And she used to smoke cigarettes a lot.
You should have broke up with her for that. That was like,
it was just like, so but the point I'm making though is, as much as I rocked with her, like, and again, I didn't make her feel guilty about us not having sex. We just weren't having it. And I didn't think it was. Though? You said what?
Did y'all talk about why you're not having sex anymore?
Not at all. And I didn't even realize it was an issue until one point. All right, and I'm about to share way too fucking much, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it. Damn, I shouldn't even share this, but I'll go ahead.
You stayed through the cigarettes. The ashy knuckles was like too much. I agree with you. You should have been fucking ditched her.
So we end up getting into this space where I didn't even realize it was an issue until this one night. Now, keep in mind, I'm in like my early 20s. I might be like 22, 23. And she's feeling some kind of way. Now, I'm living in Atlanta. And so because she notices that there was a dramatic reduction in my libido, she wasn't taking all of these other factors into play, right? And so she thought it had something to either do with her, and because this was like early 2000s, she was wondering, oh snap, is he gay, right? Like, and so now she has all of this stuff going on in her head. So I never forget this one night, she figures, oh, I'm gonna try to spice it up, and see if he likes this. Maybe this is the issue. And she was trying everything in her power to get us to have anal sex, right?
But was she still ashy?
That's a good question. I kind of feel like she was. Like it ain't like she got her shit super sexy, right? And was like, babe, we're gonna do something new. No, you just want to roll over like, hey babe, let's try this tonight. And I'm like,
she never put on lotion or nothing. Like, you just saying like she just never put nothing on.
Man, listen, Rashida,
you are more ashy.
Oh yes. So listen, Tina, yes, she stayed the same. And let me tell you something.
Isaac, no empathy.
I didn't realize what the demo was until this one night. We were about to go somewhere, and she was like, all right, I think we were going out to like a club or some shit like that or whatever. It's Atlanta. And she does the whole thing, right? Basically does it up, hair, makeup, all this shit. Whole time I'm sitting on the bed looking at her.
Was the hair as good as your wig right now? Was it like that level?
Man, more luxurious than this. She did have it like the big hair and shit. She had a big natural. Shit was hella sexy. And I'm turned on. And here's the thing. She turns back and looks at me and was like, yeah, you forgot that, I can get fine like this. And so like that even just shows, nigga, you was looking like the cleaning lady. Like, you was looking like the cleaning lady. Why are you trying to make me feel guilty about not wanting to go there? And that you could have gone there and you decided not to. Now, again, I wasn't making her feel bad about not being that way. I wasn't out there.
You weren't making her feel anything because you weren't communicating. Let's just clear that up.
I didn't know. I just thought I was being supportive. I just thought I was being a supportive.
When you get out the shower, don't you look? She's all glistening, and when you get out the shower and you get all fresh and clean, you all glistening. You don't look like the cleaning lady still.
But Rashida, you're glistening until your skin dries and you haven't moisturized it. Then you're ashy again, and you have a faint hint of Clorox.
They didn't live in the same. You guys, they didn't live in the same city. Remember, he lived in Atlanta.
Ooh,
no.
Into the story. I'm picking sexy clothes in. If I'm going to see my boo thing, who I don't live, so you not seeing each other all the time. I'm not cleaning when I go visit you. I'm gonna get cute. Right.
but that was my situation, right? Like
you just didn't know how to deal with an entrepreneur. You sound like you were complaining.
Yeah, exactly.
It sounds like both of y'all should have talked about it. Y'all were both at fault in that relationship.
He didn't know how to deal with an entrepreneur-ass woman.
You should have went Bath Body Works and bought her some of them little lotions she could have kept in her purse.
You could. This was early 2000s. You didn't buy her Love Spell.
There you go.
I mean, damn. We all smell
pear glazed strawberries and champagne
at that time, and it was
look. I keep lotion in my purse. I do not like ashy feet. I keep lotion in my purse. Me too. You should have hooked her up.
Bath and Body Works was always 2 for $3. You could have bought her some Love Spell and some strawberries and champagne.
No excuses.
So you were slipping. That's what I got from that store.
No.
Rashida, all facts.
Listen. 2020 Ike knows better now, right? Like, cause
how would you do it different?
Good question.
Yeah, what would you? Yeah, let's give us that whole scenario with 2020 Ike. What would 2020 Ike do?
20. Okay, all right.
They just pulled your card, player.
No, they did, and now I'm trying to determine the level of
now
truth
he's
that I
trying
need
to
to
teach him
give.
how to fucking lie because he's the same. He's like, damn, what would you do now?
Honestly, I'm a little more ratchet now.
Just let Al answer this question for you.
Oh, thank you, Al. What you got for me, Al?
Cowboy, like, let him save you.
What you got, Al?
Well, as far as the cigarettes, when you mentioned cigarettes, that was a deal breaker for me. So as far as the ashy knuckles, I don't know how that became the focus, but it is what it is. But I don't know, Isaac. I mean, you have the things that impact how you respond to. So I mean, I can't argue with you. But the cigarettes,
like, if you want to fuck a bitch that smokes cigarettes, that's on you, player. I'm over here like, ooh, there were some other deal breakers before he was ashy.
Well, no. I mentioned the ashy knuckles, so I don't know how that became a focus, unless
who's focused on ashy knuckles? Like,
unless you mentioned they smell like Clorox.
If y'all seen the way these knuckles look, y'all would get. Ain't nobody trying to have sex with the cleaning lady, like.
Isaac, you weren't just sleeping with a cleaning lady. She was running a business.
It's a budding entrepreneur, Isaac.
And I was supporting that, but it just didn't turn me on, right?
I'm a cleaning lady, so she can have more jobs.
What were you gonna say, Clarence?
So why not? Why not enjoy sex with a person that is thoroughly clean?
Right. This coronavirus.
That's what we doing. Really?
Still got a company.
Her market value went up so high. Right, it's COVID right now. She's like, bitch, you wish I smelled like Clorox.
Right. Now,
come on now. I mean, I gotta call bullshit on you. You're supposed to be authentic.
No, okay. So 2020 Ike, first off, and this is what I was saying to Daniel. I'm sorry, Mr. Low Rates. This is what I was saying to Mr. Low Rates a moment ago, when I was like, you clearly hadn't found drugs yet, right? Like, and what I mean by that is even alcohol. Like, I did not find my drink of choice. Like, I know how to get myself in a space now. I think then I was young and I was trying to fall back into what we were saying earlier. I was trying to be the ideal boyfriend. I was trying to be the supporter, the this, the that. Honest to God, I could not figure out why I would get to a certain space in relationships where I would lose interest, and it used to bother me, and I didn't realize it was because we would fall into habits and we would become complacent in some of our activities, and that very thing is what would cause me to lose interest, right? And so I think that
Ariel was on the chat on Facebook on the stream. She said it's in your mind now. If you can't handle a boss when she's regular and not glossed up, you ain't shit.
Now Ariel says that, right?
That's my friend. That's my friend.
Ariel says that because it sounds safe.
Lady, you know, just rolled out of bed. This is the best you're gonna get right
now. No. Because here's what's unique about men, right? Is we
no,
have
let's
equipment.
Talk about you.
Oh no, but yeah, I'll talk about me specifically. As men, we have equipment that you need to flip a switch in order for it to activate.
Isaac, so like, men get hard off of nothing but a touch. Like let's not act like the dick is that complicated.
It is, but it isn't. It is, but it isn't. We can't pretend like the penis is just this automatic thing that you just push and you get aroused. Sometimes men don't even know.
It's definitely much more complex than what
it's more complex.
Mr. Low rates you're complex, but your dick is not that complex. Like, let's stop acting like it's that complex.
I'm sorry. I think I know my dick well enough.
Is it that complex?
Does your partner know it well enough?
Ladies, let's mansplain their dicks to them to show how.
Let's mansplain this to them. I love this. It ain't that complex.
Work, baby.
It's right here.
Okay. And to that point, right? And even what Ariel said, like if she knew what to do to flick the switch, then yeah, we go there, right? But if you're,
wouldn't it really just be that you were in a relationship with someone who got a little bit busy and kind of forgot and let themselves go a bit, and it wasn't about them not knowing what to do and not caring about themselves. It was, you were dating someone who was grinding it out, and you were there for the grind, and you had to sacrifice some of your needs, and you didn't at the time know how to communicate what you needed, and you thought that by being quiet you were being supportive, but really it was at a detriment to your needs. So neither of you were really in the wrong. It was two people who weren't communicating about the changing needs.
That's exactly what it was. Honestly, God, that was exactly what it
you
was.
You see that message I delivered in this little like basic bitch bunny outfit? You trying to give us a whole diatribe when you didn't communicate your needs.
I
didn't know my needs. I was in my early 20s.
Maybe I need you to put on lotion today.
May I advocate here?
Yes, go Clarence.
Maybe I bought you some shea butter.
What if you would have been dating the female version of Busta Rhymes? Have you all
just spit because I don't even know what that means, but that's hilarious though. What is the female version of Busta Rhymes mean?
Have you not seen what Busta Rhymes dropped? How he bounced back from, you know, his prior body style to.
Did he bounce back? Can you send a link?
He did, yeah. He bounced back. It's crazy.
Can someone post a link somewhere?
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet.
Right, okay. I haven't seen him bounce back.
I'll find his Instagram. Hold on, I'll find his Instagram. Clarence.
Okay, go ahead, Clarence. Sorry.
Yeah, it's on New York Post.
I'll find it, Clarence. Continue talking.
Okay. I was just playing the advocate on the other side.
Wait, finish your point. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
That was the question. What if that was what you potentially were leaving? She was just at the stage where she's getting ready to bounce right back.
Okay,
you know? So he doesn't deserve her at her bounce back. If he wants to leave, and he's allowed to leave, he doesn't. Why should she be with someone who does not fucking want her? He should not be with someone who's not going to meet him where he is. I think he should have communicated. He did not want her though. He didn't communicate. He didn't put in any fucking effort.
For the sake of this discussion, we can romanticize this. But no, that because Aisha, I've told you about this scenario, and it got way more ratchet than her having ashy knuckles. This had nothing to do with.
I'm stepping.
Yeah, no, it wasn't that. But I do think that you guys are square on point with. And this is something that I had to learn. And I think this is important for everybody in relationships, is to learn how to communicate their needs. Like I will say one thing that I learned from that relationship is
shea butter, baby.
Would you say shea butter? That's good. That's actually very good. It was not only not to hold back my feelings, but it was also not to hold back my frustration sometimes, right? Because in trying to be that ideal boyfriend and trying to be that representative so often, there were a lot of things that she would do in the relationship that, to be very frank, was abusive, right? She was very verbally abusive sometimes. And because she was older than me and I was so attracted to her, I took a lot of it. I was eating a lot of it, right? And I was always making excuses for it because I felt like, you know, she's this boss ass chick and man, she's under a lot of pressure. She's under a lot of stress. She's doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like it was always me making these concessions without realizing that I was pushing that stuff down. And when it finally came out in such a way that let me know, damn, like, and I never forget the first time I had a quasi like blow up. And it wasn't even like a violent blow up, but it was just like a blow up, like where I was like, all right, let me read her and let her know, like, how fucking dare you? And I'll never forget, she was sitting in the car and she was sitting there and I pulled over and I'm just waiting like, oh shit, it's about to get thick. And she just sat there and she just said, wow. She was like, I wish I was recording this because I want to go back and listen to this a couple of times. I had no idea that you felt this way. Right. And I felt bad because I was like, damn, like I probably could have shared my discontent or like, you know, just how I was feeling a long time before, but I had never done it. But what was dangerous about us being in this space now, one, she's already developed a habit of being this way. And two, once I open Pandora's box, there's no going back to me just being the complacent guy. Now, every time I feel like you getting out of pocket, and you're a little too loose with the lips and being disrespectful, now I'm shooting back. And so then the relationship changed from me being the person that was taking all the arrows to us constantly firing arrows at one another. And so,
Isaac, how long were you still in this relationship after you identified that it was toxic? Because I think a lot of people in this room and watching the live now have probably hit a point where they realize it's time to leave a relationship. And then the clock starts on when you don't, like when you stay. And I think the time that you identify that this is not for me, and then you finally leave, that space to me is always interesting.
Shit, like, okay, so keep in mind, it was my early 20s going into like 24, 25. Aisha, we might have stayed in that relationship for another year and a half. You know what I'm saying? Like a solid year and a half. And we had good moments, but when we would have our battles, man, them shits would like get to the point where it was just like, yo, and it took one altercation with me driving home where I almost crashed the whip because she just wowed out sitting in the passenger seat next to me. You know what I'm saying?
Were you dating Mel? I'm just joking.
You said what?
Were you dating Mel?
Okay, she gets back.
You said she wowed it out. I was like, was that Mel? Had she told you she was crazy from date one? And you were just like, I don't believe you, boo.
I don't believe you. And shit. I'm gonna keep riding it out. But I did grow from that relationship in a sense of at least being able to openly express those things when I know, okay, this is not what this is what I don't want. You know what I mean? Like, you know, and I know that to this day, she still hates being that person in my mind, but I'm like, I love having had that experience to know this, when I feel something that feels like this is, I need to change because I don't want to go down that same path where we could have gotten very volatile and potentially violent. You know what I'm saying? Like it was.
Isaac, this is kind of a petty twist to what you're saying, but I thought it was like you had a very seriously toxic situation, but it was funny that she was so ashy and smelled like a mom. It made me wonder for the people here, has anyone had a very petty, trivial reason for ending it with someone that that most people would agree is kind of petty, but it was your reason?
Well, I think what Isaac initially shared was that it was more than just the knuckles. It was things that took place that led up to that. Maybe the knuckles was the last straw, or close to the last straw. But when we talk about
smoked cigarettes, she's abusive.
Yeah.
Now she ashy too.
Right. So we talk about petty. I think it's the petty that is possibly the last or close to the last straw. There's other things that lead up to it.
Do you think the petty thing is the thing that's easy to be like, well, I can't deal with this, versus the other stuff that's heavier? You're like, oh, maybe I should work this out or give this person space? Or was it easier, like Isaac, to be like, oh, she's ashy versus, oh, she's toxic, abusive, she doesn't listen, we don't communicate? And I wonder if other people have had that experience where it was the petty thing that made you be like, I gotta go. I dated a dude where we were extremely toxic, but the moment his friend, we lived together, and living together while you break up is a mess. But we lived together during a breakup, and his friend ate my 25-cent bag of flaming hot Cheetos. And I was like, I will murder you. And that, to me, that was my petty moment where I was like, did you actually eat my bag of chips?
So in other words, you turned into Shonda Rhimes. You turned into Shonda Rhimes. You was like, oh, I can't get this ticket to Disney World?
I honestly wish I could be spoken among Shonda Rhimes. I wish that it was a ticket to Disney World. It was a 25-cent bag of chips from the Jewel on oh my God, I've been away from Chicago for so long. The Jewel that is in the South Loop in Chicago. Uh-huh. It was that. And I was like,
off of Roosevelt.
And I was like, we were breaking up slowly over a period of time, but his friend eating my 25-cent bag of Flaming Hots was like the thing that took us over the edge. So does anyone else have a petty moment like that?
I do, because I was dating a guy, and the petty moment was the last straw. And his aunt, who I was friends with before I started dating him, called me at 11 o'clock at night because her daughter, she asked me something. They were kind of had this weird relationship. It was his cousin, and she was like, how's my cousin doing? And basically
at 11 o'clock, she wants to know how he's doing.
No. I'm leading up to the aunt called me, but she had asked me at another time, oh, well, tell my cousin I said hi, and I did. And he was like, tell her I said fuck her, because he was mad at her. You really, I said, you know me, I'm gonna keep it 100. So I was like, you really want me to tell her that? Because I'm gonna see her again. He's like, yeah, I don't give a fuck. So when she asked me, I said, well, he said fuck you. So she told her mom, and her mom was like, his mom called me talking about you're perpetuating negativity and yada, yada, yada. And I was like, I just kept it 100. It's not my fault she couldn't handle the truth, which she can't handle the truth about anything. I was so irritated that I called him. I didn't even call him. I did the whole text. I said, we're done. I can't do this.
Wait, did you break up with him by text?
I sure did. And I don't do that. I took it extra all the way to the pettiness of the pettiness. I broke up with him by text. Like, I'm done.
But wait, did you never see him again after that text message?
I did, because again,
because it got cold.
Well, no, because we stopped talking, but he didn't want me out of his life. I tried to end it, but he didn't want me out of his life. So he still reached out all the time and this, that, and the other. But
girl, you broke up with someone. How long were y'all together to break up over text message?
It was that same guy, the one about the 2 years. I was like, I'm good. Like, we're not on the same page. Like, I was done. It was like, that was just the last straw. I was like, I'm over it. I can't. There was other shit though. As Al said, there was other shit. And this was just like the last straw. Like, it wasn't even really related to him, relative to really him, but I was like, you have too much shit. I don't do drama. So these little bits, he would complain about little things, and he was like kind of lightweight controlling, and I'm not having it. And I was like, yeah, I'm good. I can't. On top of the fact of everything else, I'm really good. So I was like, yeah, I'm done. So that was that.
Has anyone else broken up over text message?
No, but sometimes that's depending on what the relationship is, it might text message.
He's like that.
But like, if you're breaking up with someone, it's a relationship, not ending a casual dating.
Person is violent, or it could mean something for your relationship. Like, it might be safe to do text message. I mean, every relationship's different.
I was messing with somebody on and off for like 10 years, and I was like, I'm done. And I sent him a text message, like, have a nice life. I'm done. That was it.
Wait, Lynn, did you send him that as a response to a different message, or was it out of the blue, like, have a nice life?
It was in response to a situation, and I was like, this is some bullshit, and I've had enough of your shit. Have a nice life. I'm done with you.
Did you really want him to have a nice life?
Not really, but I was trying to be the bigger person at the moment. I really don't care what happens in his life right now. I don't want anything bad to happen, but if he got the COVID, I wouldn't be sad about it.
I mean, that's bad. Wish him to get maybe
I don't want him to I just don't care if he gets sick.
Right. She's like, I want you to get like
45. You're like 45.
Right.
But like, if you like can't breathe and it's like hard for you for a little bit, I'm gonna be okay.
Okay, flip question though.
I had a situation though.
But I have a question. Has anyone been on the receiving end of a breakup via text message?
Absolutely.
Tell us.
I'm gonna go into that after this though.
Okay.
Damn, Daniel.
Set up 10 minutes.
The situation that I had, there was a girl I was dating. She lived with her brother at the time.
Her real brother or her play brother?
Her blood brother.
Oh, okay.
That's not bro.
We had a nice little house or whatever, and it was one night she called me. Late at night, she called me crying. And I'm like, man, what's going on? She's like, I just can't believe him. I can't believe. I was like, are you home? I was like, yeah, I'll be there. So I pull up, she comes to my car to talk to me. I said, what's going on? She said, he's just so inconsiderate. He's in that room having sex with some girl and they're all loud and I'm trying to sleep.
Who owned the house that they lived in?
Her brother.
Oh, okay. She need to be quiet. Go ahead. Sorry.
Girl, pull out your dildo.
She was in full, like she was, I'm
okay,
talking
Clarence.
Like, she was crying hysterically, was extremely upset. And in that very moment, I was like, I'm leaving. So I'm not condoning this. Don't beat me up. But I ghosted her after that. Like I never.
Mr. Low Rates, if she was freaking out over her brother having sex in the home that he pays for, she has some deeper issues because you're living somewhere that you don't own and you don't pay for. And
but you don't know what the rules that I mean, I wouldn't want to hear my brother having sex.
But Tina, you wouldn't be living with someone where you're not paying bills and you think you have an opinion.
Was paying bills. He didn't say that she wasn't.
Daniel, was she paying bills? Because I would venture to say no.
Yeah.
No.
You can't say
the way that I am, the way my audacity is, I would still be upset.
I'm sorry. That was such a level of it showed such a lack of maturity that I didn't even want to bother trying to understand. I said,
well,
so I bet you were real emotionally.
The noises were uncomfortable. Like I'm being Ike. I'm being the devil's advocate here.
I'm gonna just say that Daniel, Mr. Low Rates did the right thing by being there for her in the moment and making a mental checklist of I'm gonna go and gather my things.
I mean, you get a call late at night and you're saying, oh, I can't believe he's done this. The first thought that comes to mind is like, okay, did her brother assault her? Was there some?
Was it her friend that he was like sleeping with or something?
No.
There's something deep there. Like romantic feelings.
The way she explained it to me.
Story.
The way she explained it to me was that he brought some woman to the house. And the room is, I mean, they're relatively close together.
It doesn't matter. She doesn't pay any bills in this place. She's staying there as a courtesy.
She's legit upset. Like, why is he doing this right now? I'm trying to sleep.
You dodged a bullet.
She had romantic feelings.
Maybe she was really loud.
You dodged a bullet because she seems to have a disconnect between my pet peeve is hearing other people have sex, so I totally understand it. But if I live somewhere
where I pay
it is. It's a pet. It's one of a few, but it's a pet peeve to overhear other people have sex. I don't like it. Like when it's forced upon me.
And me, I'm like, wait,
girl, stop! It is not.
I had a neighbor.
I said it me.
That shit don't turn y'all on. That would turn me on. That would turn me on.
Clarence earlier, he low key was like, "Oh my God, just get something and you listen." Like that to me, it feels intrusive, and I'm like, I don't want.
You're loud enough where I can hear you. That's not intrusive. That's not me listening to you. That's you're loud enough where I can hear you.
But you're assuming that this it's production. Like some people's their sex performance is sad. And
I live in apartments or condos where the walls are not that thick, but it's a pet peeve to me. However, it's a pet peeve places where I pay bills. If I was living somewhere rent free and bill free, I would just I would have called you to go hang out. I would have called you to pick me up and take me from this establishment. I'm not crying in your car. Let's go get crab legs or go do something. Like, what am I here crying? What was going on?
Sometimes it's hilarious. I had neighbors when I lived in Chicago in Hyde Park, and they would argue one night, and then they would be having sex the next night, and it was hilarious the sounds that they would make. Sometimes it's entertaining.
Lynn, I agree with you. I had neighbors like that in my last condo, and you could hear the crescendo where I was like, oh, it's speeding up. It's going to end in 60 seconds.
Sometimes it's funny.
Sometimes. But like,
it's sad. It makes me sad because I'm just like, wow.
Let's be truth about this. I mean, seriously, you are young right now. You're beautiful. You are adolescent. Use it. I mean,
what, you got a hat onto your wig, or is that a wig onto your mask?
You are aroused by that situation or what's taking place in the room next to you, the house, the next door to you, and you overhear it. Why not go in? I mean, I just don't understand. I mean, it's the safest form of sex is by yourself.
I don't disagree with you.
No, like that's not the case. It's just that like it was that like when I've heard my neighbors have sex.
She said listen, and then she cleaned it up.
Right, exactly, right.
Well, I mean, it's like
she had the glass.
Totally. She was totally up there like this. Like, wait a minute, hold on. Wait a minute. Hold on. Let me get this.
Like a VHS or a DVD. You're gonna listen to it later.
Oh, right. You're letting your show. Did you say VHS? Tina finished that glass. Y'all are about to get 3-drink Tina. That's a special thing. Everyone doesn't get this. She's a new mom to a puppy. She's letting her hair hang loose tonight.
Congratulations.
A comment on Facebook. Ariel, is that her name? Ariel says, it sparks competition mode. I could do it better than that. I'm gonna tell you a story.
Story time.
This is actually somewhat embarrassing, but I'm transparent. I don't care. I was probably 23, and it was one of the nights that me and my ex was getting ready to do something. Didn't last very long at all, but it just so happened that the neighbors above us was going in. So we just laying in the bed like this, listening to them, just going to work. It was horrible, absolutely horrible. Could you imagine what that feels like as a man? You know you ain't do your job, and your girl just sitting there like,
must be nice. Must be nice.
Sounds like she's enjoying herself.
Somebody laying pipe.
I wish I was getting this. That was
wish I was the landlord and I had a key.
So, like, how do you bounce back from that, Daniel?
There was no bouncing back from that.
You didn't like try to like pursue something, or you were just like, nah, I'm
no. The reason that there was no bouncing back was at that time. To add some context, so she had been bouncing between me and a guy that she struggled letting go, and I cared so much and loved her so much that I didn't even care that battle was going on. But there was something in me that I don't know how to describe it. It involved my libido and maybe a mental comparison of what she may have been receiving there versus with me. And I don't know, maybe this drive of one to kind of be that person, or not be that person, but be better than that person. Right. Yeah. But I wanted to answer Aisha's other question because she asked if I told her I got left over a text message. Who was I? I think I was 20.
How did it feel?
I didn't know how to take it. I didn't know how to take it at the time. I was extra, a whole lot of extra. After that text message, I went blowing her up. Like text messages, phone calls. At the time that I was doing it, I was working at this clothing store. So I had my cell phone, my flip phone in one hand. No, I had my flip phone in one hand Then I had the store phone on another hand. So I dial here and I have the number dialed here. So if this hang up, I just hit send here and just go back and forth. I did that probably about 20 times. And her mom picked up the phone. Yeah, like, don't call this number ever again. And
why did you call that many times?
Probably some false sense of entitlement. At the time I was young, you know.
Have any of y'all called somebody?
He said false sense of entitlement, Aisha. And that was cold for thirsty. He was thirsty, but go ahead, though. I'm sorry.
I was thirsty.
Trying to act like he wasn't thirsty.
I was thirsty. I was very thirsty.
Maybe some false sense of entitlement.
I was dehydrated.
Thirsty, bro. That's what it was.
Wait, what did you say?
I was just saying I have a strict rule on how many times I call and text. It's one.
How many times do you call?
One for one. Girl, I'm just saying. I'm not, it's like I'm not chasing anybody. Like, I just don't know. Hopefully you're not like in a puddle.
In a place that don't get service because they might not have got it.
Well, maybe
you know what I used to do when I was hella young? I would call a million times and I'd be like, what if they died? Like, what if they got in an accident?
Right.
What if like something happened and they're not answering their phone? It's like, oh, people are just not answering their phone intentionally. Had to learn that the hard way.
Wait a minute. So you know what though? That's interesting because
it's over.
There's I think there's a really close friend of mine that is possibly watching live on one of the platforms that kind of experienced something like that, where they told me about this guy that they were dating and the guy just went like super ghost. And this was like one of these pandemic relationships, right? And you know, everything was hot and heavy. And then all of a sudden the shit just like...
You need to define hot and heavy for us though.
Well, hot and heavy enough to whereas they were like seeing one another multiple times a week. You know what I'm saying? And being intimate. Right. Okay. And being intimate. Now keep in mind, COVID relationship. So we know that things have been different during this period.
Ready to risk it all, literally.
Right. So depending upon what that means. So he ended up getting a job. And I think it cut.
He didn't have one?
Well, because he probably got laid off like during all of the stuff. So ended up getting a job. So that cut the time that they were seeing one another down by like half. She told me that he ended up getting another gig. So this dude is probably trying to rebuild. He hustling the whole nine. So she's only seeing him every so often. Then it just falls completely off the map, right? And, you know, when she called me and we were just having a conversation and she's telling me about this, I'm like, man, like, you know, are you sure he's still alive? Like there was a piece of me that was like, and she's like, nah, I know he Gucci, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, wait a minute, but, you know, I'm asking her questions. She said it was radio.
Okay, Clarence, got that low view. Sorry. Got distracted.
Stop it. So she was basically saying like, nah, she firmly believed that he was just on something else. She wasn't friends with his other friends because, you know, it's pandemic. So she didn't have an opportunity to meet his other friends, parents, this, that, and the third. But she also, so I started asking about his social media habits. They had all gone radio silent too. Oh, he normally posts about his music. He normally posts about this.
Ew, his music. Silent. She should have been abandoned ship.
Oh no. Hey, wait a minute. No, stop it.
I'm sorry to everybody fucking a struggling musician.
No, Aisha.
He may not be struggling.
Aisha, stop it.
That's his outlet. Don't.
No.
There's tons of artists that actually make money.
Right, but he wasn't an artist. When I said his music,
hobby. Aisha, your husband has a musical hobby. Come on now, let's go.
A hobby, but Tina, you're the one who stays hyping up SoundCloud artists on the street, talking about where's your SoundCloud link? Are you marketing yourself the way you do?
I'm serious. I need to make sure that they're.
But I know you're not fucking a SoundCloud artist.
Never.
As you drink out of your stemware.
Listen, no, Aisha, you took it somewhere it wasn't meant to go.
By the way,
you took it somewhere it wasn't meant to go. What I was saying was, when I said his music, I meant like he's really into music, and so he's got like a playlist, and when he finds a new artist, he'll post it or whatever. So like this is something that he would commonly do that he stopped doing.
Like A&R kind of like.
Right,
no,
exactly.
girl, like
right.
Spotify. Like
no, I know, but I'm marketing. I'm making it.
Tina, listen, if you want your life to change, get with Tina because she's about to make you whatever you think your life is. Tina's gonna pour into you and make you bigger than you are. She's talking about A&R. This nigga, he was on Spotify. Let's be honest. Like,
no, I'm saying I don't understand why more people aren't following my playlist, but that's another difference. I'm saying that if these are normally the thing that he posts, he wasn't posting them during this period, and so
he's dead.
And that's what I was saying, right? Like, yo, are you sure? Like, did you do a drive-by? So I'm gonna tell y'all what she told me. She was like, nah, I can't do a drive-by because if I do a drive-by and this nigga's there, I'm a pop off, right? Like she didn't say I'm a pop off, but that was basically what she said. I'm a pop off, right? I was like, all right.
And
I didn't even push it. I didn't even push it, right? I didn't even push it. Listen. Just to give y'all the ending. To give y'all the ending.
The fucking car.
Listen. Like maybe a week or two later, she ends up hitting me up and letting me know, like,
he wasn't dead.
So I'm mad I listened to your advice because I drove by and the nigga's still alive, right? So now I know. Oh shit. So he really is a fuckboy. All right. Sorry about it. And I don't even know how it played out, but I know it didn't play out in a way that was probably ideal for her mental health. You know what I'm saying?
I think a lot of people, especially during COVID and dating during COVID, are in relationships that they think are something that are not. And think about this, when we were able to go outside freely, people would fabricate entire relationships. Now that we're stuck in our homes, people's imaginations are like game time. So she may have, that's why I was asking, like, what was the situation? Because even one of the chicks inside of the conversation Facebook group shared that she was dating someone during COVID. He flew in to see her, then blew her off. And like people were commenting on that. And it's different to date right now. And that's why I'm interested in knowing what, like she thought that it was hot and heavy, but it's like, well, what was hot and heavy?
Well, they saw each other every day. That's why it is. It's like, it's, you know, dating during COVID is like expediting a relationship. And like, we're all kind of like in this weird space where we're quarantined. We can't do whatever we would normally do. And so like everything is more intensified. Everything feels deeper and stronger than maybe it really would be in normal life.
Getting your feelings hurt during COVID is like extra hard.
Calvin got a job. Why y'all ragging on Calvin? He got a promotion.
No, he got a job. You know what? And it could be he couldn't balance it, or it could be that he went back to his regular life and was like, hey, like, I like her, but like, I want to focus on my career. And he should have just communicated that. Like,
but have y'all ever been busy?
It was a COVID freak.
I'm sure that everyone in this room has been busy where like you have had legitimate things to do where you haven't meant to not talk to someone.
Girl, if you like somebody, how busy you are, you could be like, hey, boo, I'm busy.
But Tina, he went from not making money to making money. Like if she's judging him on the transition back to working.
If you like somebody, you are gonna make some time to at least communicate what it is or what it isn't.
I agree with you if she was in his top tier, but if he still liked her, but she wasn't top tier.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think that it's fair to say that maybe he was transitioning back from being unemployed to working, and she wasn't number one or two or maybe three.
She was number one when he was unemployed.
No, she wasn't number one ever.
No, she was number one when he was unemployed, and then when he got employed, she wasn't on the list.
He may have been number 5, but he was unemployed, so we had.
Y'all better stop it. Listen. Now, I admittedly, I appreciate the trajectory of what it is that you guys are saying. But I just feel like sometimes it can be a little bit more complex than that in a sense of, and to the point that you made, Aisha, like he went from not making money to making money, right? And what's always so fascinating about all this, because you know what? I always see the memes where it's like, you make time to do the things that are important to you, right? And when you read that meme, it feels valid in that space. Like,
it's true.
you do make time for things that you want, but there are times where there's some really important people in my fucking life that during this period where it's chaos, I see, like, I give you an example.
But
my
Isaac,
sister,
are there but is it people who you are sleeping with? And I mean, and I say that respectfully, that people, your family, your brother, your sister, your parents, your family who you love, your super close friends, life may get too busy, but the person who you are sleeping with, is life too busy to make time for them?
Okay, so I actually,
or no, and then go into your story.
No. Okay, it's funny that you.
It's funny that you mentioned that because it's
you did because I was gonna give a different analogy, and I feel like you kind of clipped me at the knees when you said that shit, because I was going to give an analogy where I shared that my sister sent me a text yesterday. Well, she called me first. I picked up the phone and we talked for a brief second, and then she was at work, so she had to go away for a few hours. When she hit me back, then I was busy. Haven't gotten a chance to talk to her yet, right? And this is one of the most important people in my world. But you are right. I'm clearly not sleeping with my sister, right?
Right. But people who you are in intimate relationship with is different than your close friends and family. So I'm asking you and everyone here, the people who you are intimate with, in a relationship with, whatever that relationship is, are you not making time for them? No matter, like, that's what I think also Tina's saying. You make time for the people who matter. In the intimate relationships that matter, you carve out time. If you're calling someone on a lunch break, if you're calling someone in between you walking to another meeting, if you're texting them to let them know that you're going to schedule a time to call back, you're in communication with them because they're important and you make time for it, not waiting for time to naturally appear in your schedule.
Your family is different. You know they're going to be there no matter what. But a significant other or somebody you're seeing is different. So you have to let them know that you are available and thinking of them. So you have to actively reach out to them. Your family, you can kind of fall off because you know they're still going to be there.
It also points to your priorities. What are your priorities? You know, and if they are a priority, then yeah, you have to make time.
Right.
Okay, wait a minute. But this is interesting though, right? Mm-hmm. Because like going into this realm, do you feel, and this goes back to what we were talking about earlier in the conversation, right? Like where sometimes we pretend like there are all these other aspects and elements that are important in our connection, but sometimes it feels like everything gets reduced down to sex, right? Like because we're sleeping together, I have to do something different with you than I would with my mother, my sister, my brother, my business partner.
I think, are you crazy?
Okay, all right. Now, but a moment ago when I said that if she looked like this when I married her, and then I saw her without her makeup, she looked like this. I got reduced to saying, now all of a sudden,
this is your partner. This is your partner. Like,
you said what? Wait a minute. No, I'm just drawing a correlation.
Thank you, Aricia Blue. It's so different.
No, I'm just drawing a correlation to the fact that someone can be incredibly important.
They're not correlation. You're reaching too far. It's not correlation.
Wait. Have you ever seen the movie I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker?
Yes.
You ever seen that?
Yes.
You remember that scene where I think it was Anna Marie Johnson? She was in the club with Keenan Wayans, right? And so he saw her, fell in love with the whole nine, went back to his place, and all of a sudden she started removing all these parts.
Right.
So what we're talking about throughout the behind everything else. So basically what we've been talking about throughout the evening is what have you become attractive to? And then once that goes away, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. So once that goes away, what's left? You know, so you talk about knuckles, you talk about no makeup, you're talking about all these other attributes. So once that wears off, you know, what is left? You know, so basically what I said earlier, what are the priorities? What are your priorities? Are they part of your priority? Are they a priority?
Exactly.
What did you say, Clarence?
The scene he's describing from I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker.
I'm sorry, were you asking a question or?
Right, I was about to say, right. You got us waiting. Like you was about to drop a dime.
The scene is from I'm gonna get you sucker. That's his statement.
Just sitting there waiting, like, all right, what you got?
Right.
He's just making an observation.
Easter egg, like what happened?
Side commentary.
I thought I missed it.
So no, he fell in love with the exterior. You know, she had all of these qualities that he saw in a beautiful woman, but then when he got back to her place, she started removing all of these false teeth and hair and behind and everything else.
Leg.
You know, she was right. Yeah, had a leg, the whole nine. So she was reduced to something that he would never have been attracted
to. Like 1/3 of a person.
Right, basically.
She said, don't make me hop after you. What are you doing? but Aisha, the point that I was making as it relates to that is just wonderful. That there are times where you may like I think you are right. There are special and I feel like that's an unwritten rule. That's an unwritten rule that once you're sleeping with someone, you have to give them something more than what you would typically give. And sometimes it feels a little weird.
You don't have to. I think I think it's uncommon for people who only want that surface level sleeping with arrangement to lead with that. I think sometimes people think they have to hoodwink you to get you to do that, because you would not just opt into just something casual. And I think more often than not, if someone was presented with the option of being casual, they would be okay with it. But a lot of times people don't lead with being casual because of the stigma they think that comes along with it. And they cause themselves undue stress. Like Daniel left, but having to call someone that many times and all this bullshit, like, no, people don't want that type of stress. Like hairlines are receding, people are going gray. It's stressful. People like give someone the option to opt into it. I used to always tell my guy friends, just be honest about what you want, because you would be surprised with how many women would be okay with it.
Exactly.
Men usually, my friends, not like judging everyone, but a lot of the guy friends I have would want something casual and bullshit a woman and then be upset with the stress they would deal with because they were having to deal with having their representative not be aligned with who they are. And I was like, well, were you honest with her? And they were like, well, no, I couldn't be. And it's like, well, did you try? And it's like, no. Stop trying to waste people's time. There's so many people who want what you want.
Yep.
But people are, and this is men and women, you're busy trying to be a representative of yourself, and that's not even authentic to you. Just be who you are. You'll attract it.
I feel what you're saying, and I think that's a whole ass bar. That should be like a fucking t-shirt. Like that's a quotable. Going back to what it was that we was just saying a moment ago, as it relates to, when I was making a point about a person being too busy, and you wisely, pivoted and was like, okay, but were you sleeping with this person? And that was unique to me. Like that always feels so weird to me because I feel like sometimes it goes above just being casual, right? Like it doesn't have to be a flippant relationship to say that in this moment, I got a lot of things going on and I may get so inundated with all the stuff that's going on that I'm going to hit you later, right? Like most people in our worlds beyond our husband or our wives, what we say are more important than our, moms and dads and brothers and the whole nine. But the moment that you start dating somebody for like a couple of months, you'll hit your mama back later. But this chick that you've been involved with for a couple of months, she hits you up and you're so concerned that if I don't, we even got memes where they're like, oh, he left you on read for a couple of hours. He hit you back. Oh, who this? And like, we know it's playful, but people have this sometimes unrealistic expectation of access to your world just because we're intimate. And it's like, we have not gotten there yet. We haven't gotten there.
Tina just made a really good point that I agree with.
I'm sorry, what'd you say, Tina?
Yeah, what we talked about at the very beginning of the show is consistency. Like, be who you are all the time. Like, if you're the person that texts back in 3 hours, be that person. Don't give us like, oh, I'm a text back in like a month or 6 months. If that's
I'll give you that. You're right.
Oh, also, Isaac, I would say this. A lot of people I know who don't text back intentionally, it's because of some perceived thing that they think like, oh, I'm pressed. Or I saw the message. I could respond to it now, but I'm intentionally not doing it because I want some outcome. And to me, that's ridiculous. If you have free time, text back. If you don't text back. But like, people I think should respect that we all have full lives. And like, the joke with my friends is that I'll respond to an Instagram DM before I will a text message. Because like, meet me where I am. Meet me on the platform where I'm engaging. And it's just like, it's not like a hustle. Like, if someone is not going to text me back because they're like, I'm busy, I don't want to seem pressed. It's like, well, you just don't seem responsive. I know you have a life.
What you said, like, be honest about your expectations. If this is just casual and we're just hanging out, it shouldn't matter when you text, because you already know the expectations. I'm not looking for anything serious, or I am looking for anything serious, but be honest so I know what to expect.
Lynn, did you notice that all of Isaac's examples stem from a lack of communication, proactive communication?
Negroes don't want to say what they want, like
all the time, right?
Period. Sometimes.
Really? That's what we're going to do now?
There was a point in time where I was like, I want something serious. There was a point in time when I didn't. But either way, you need to let me know what you want so I can adjust myself accordingly.
Okay,
and
all right.
Decide whether I want to fuck with you or not.
So you know what? All right. I'm trying to think if I should dig in deeper because
Isaac, the hair is leading you to the way. Like, the hair is saying, be your fucking
I'm trying to figure out
all that body, all that fucking curl. Isaac, you gotta do a hair flip. Someone commented and said it's just so weird.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, okay, hold on, goddammit. I don't know.
Hold on.
If I agree with what it is y'all saying, because you know, we talk about lack of communication. This isn't something that is like indicative of just men, right? Like, it's not just us that
I was talking about just you, though. But I was talking about specifically you.
And when Negro,
I'm giving examples that are beyond me.
Girls, boys, everything. Negroes, general.
Communication,
of the whole diaspora.
Yes. 75 to 85% of the issue is always communication.
Yeah.
And it is, but sometimes the question is what are we communicating, right? Like,
you're not communicating anything.
I mean, you got to start from somewhere. Like,
he's like, I didn't start yet, but I could have. But
because there's so much about the game.
How about you communicate that the issue?
No, but here's the deal. There's so much about the game that is about chemistry, right? Like, and how
Isaac, you are such an old
chemistry does not have anything to do with communication. Like,
Isaac has a literal certificate from Bishop Magic Wand School.
He's a Virgo.
He's like, there's just so much about the game.
Wait a minute. How is this an indictment on me? What does me being a Virgo have to do with any of this?
Where's your pimp cup? Let me see that bottle in front of you, though. Where's your pimp cup? Because I know Rashida has the whole, like, she has the, like...
That's not a pimp cup.
This ain't a pimp cup. This ain't a pimp cup. Oh, fuck it.
No, that's a wine glass.
You have the chalice.
God damn it, this is not a wine glass. What are you talking
about? No,
that's a wine glass?
I mean,
it's a goblet.
A goblet. Wait, a goblet. What are you talking about?
That is a chalice.
No customization.
That is a chalice.
Wait, but where is Al's glass? What did cowboys drink out of? Like a flask?
Water. A mule. A mule. She have like a mule.
Wait, Clarence, what is your glass?
You talking to me?
No, where's Clarence's glass?
Oh, Clarence.
Chewing on something.
Right, I'm about to say he got a flask.
Clarence is on Mike and Ike's. He's like, bitch, this is the full berry flavor of Mike and Ike's. So fucking yummy.
Clarence is high because I'm like, he
is. You saw all those.
Clarence been blowing since the moment we started. Stop it.
Clarence is like.
Listen. Okay, so I am going to be responsible at this point because I'm realizing, you know, where we're at. Right. So everyone, it has clearly been a pleasure. It has been a pleasure. You know, I'm gonna go ahead and do the responsible thing and you know, wrap this up. You guys, first and foremost, you know, I want to thank everyone for participating in this discussion. You know, a lot going on obviously in the world. We are, for those of you all that don't know about what retrograde is, I'm not going to explain what retrograde is, but just know not only are we in one retrograde, we are in a double retrograde, which happens seldomly. And there's a bunch of other stuff that's going on, which makes this a very unique period, right? Where communication sometimes becomes a little, jarred, and there's a lot of misunderstandings, And so one of the things that we have been, trying to do as we move forward is, be as consistent as possible. But I was prepared for the curveballs this evening, and we got a couple of major curveballs that occurred. But I want to thank everybody that not only participated in this Halloween edition of the Tequila Tales, the representative Let Your Freak Flag Fly. And, we had something that occurred early, and I have to take a moment to at least give light to it. So one of my partner and one of the most important people in my personal world, um her mother passed, and that was Casey, right? And she posted it on social media, but it was unexpected to many people in the family, and it was unexpected to her. But she had an unexpected death, which was that of her mother, right? And like, how often does someone have something like that occur? um and it was obviously something that was not only a shock to her, but to myself and to everyone that's close to her. And so that's why we didn't have Casey on board this evening. And I just want to send my deepest heartfelt condolences, not only to Casey, but to her entire family that are clearly going through a period that it's just, to be very frank, one of the most difficult moments that any person can go through, right? Like losing a parent, And so anyone that's watching this now or that's watching it later, definitely keep her and her family in your prayers. I've had the absolute pleasure of meeting her mother on quite a few occasions. And she was just a light. That's probably the best way that you can put it. She was a free spirit, you know, uh, highly intelligent, a lot of fun, very funny, And what was fun about it was she was also a conspiracy theorist too, right? Like, so she challenged how you feel about certain things, Um, but just someone literally that would give you the shirt off their backs. That is who this woman was. There was a point where we were trying to take Tequila Tales to the next level. And I got in my mind, it's funny, I've never shared this story with anybody. I got in my mind that if I could only meet Stan Lathan, that I could take things to the next level, right? For those of you guys that don't know who Stan Lathan is, he is the father of Sanaa Lathan, and he is also like a super producer, super executive producer of a lot of your favorite shows, right? We're talking Def Comedy Jam, Def Poetry Jam, Martin, I think even Living Single, like his name runs, but like he's always been a part of like conscious shit. And so I just threw it out there. Casey sends it to her mother, and turns out her mother used to date Stan Lathan, right? And so she goes, "Oh yeah, if I can get out to LA during this period, he's doing this thing, and I could maybe get us in the room." Sure enough, not only did she get us in the room, um, right when it's happening, and I'm sitting there, my heart's beating like boom, 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 boom. At the end, I'm ready to leave because it's just something in my head was like, this isn't what I was expecting, because it was like it was a tribute to, I think his name is Tim Story or something like that. He's the guy that was the producer of like a lot of popular Black movies. He did Barbershop and other things. I want to say his name is Tim Story. I may be butchering this, but they were doing a tribute to him. So they had other people that worked on movies with him, right? So they had Jessica Alba, they had John Singleton, and they also had Stan Lathan. And so he wasn't even the foremost person that was supposed to be speaking here. So I was like, this ain't what I was. And it was in LA. So it was all that Hollywood shit. And there was a piece of me that was just like, I don't know if I want to do this, but I'm clean, y'all. I'm clean this day. And she's sitting there next to me. So when it all ends, everybody immediately starts walking up the staircase and, you know, going into like this little vestibule area. And I'm ready to do the same because admittedly, as confident as I can be sometimes, my tail was tucked between my legs. And I'm just like, I don't know if I'm ready for this. You know what I'm saying? Like, shit, like it's all on the line. And then she goes, she just leans over to me and she goes, do you want to, you know, go down and meet him? You know, this is the first time I've met her. Like a day or two before is the first time I met her. Backtrack. First time I met her. First time I've ever seen her. She looks just like Casey, or Casey looked just like her. They both laughed the same way. It was incredibly adorable. They are two peas in a pod. So, you know, a couple of days later, we're sitting here. She said, do you want to go down there? I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So we walk down there and everybody's meeting Stan Lathan or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Turns out, you know, Stan Lathan remembers her. So she introduces me, shake his hand. And I have my little script together, right? And, you know, I said my script and it was solid. And he sits there and he goes, oh, Tequila Tales. Okay. And he starts asking me more questions. And I'm thinking like, damn, I'm selling this dude. Then all of a sudden he goes, oh, yeah, I'm kind of working on something right now. So it might be a conflict of interest. I don't think it'll be a good deal. So face literally falls on the ground like, are you fucking joking me, bro? Are you joking me? Right? Like, so I'm like, all right. Well, you know, I shook his hand. And I kept my composure. And I told him, I said, all right. I said, well, listen, I respect it. I said, but remember the name because, you know, you'll hear about us in the future. Right. And he says, okay. So he walks off and then he grabs his guy and he goes, wait a minute, what was that? Tequila Tales? I said, yeah, Tequila Tales. Right. So it was a unique situation. I know what I felt internally, but I was like, you know what? I'm glad I just had an opportunity to pitch. We're walking up the stairwell and her mother leans over to me and says, well, that was weird. And I'm thinking the same thing, like, hell yeah, that was hella weird, right? And she goes, seems like he was intimidated by you. That is when I fell in love with her, right? Because I felt the same thing and I knew the same thing, but I could not say it at my humble space that the way I came to this dude wearing what I was wearing made him feel some kind of way. But I was like, all right, I'm gonna just bite my tongue because I know what that feels like. But to have her mother confirm something to me about myself in this moment, I not only felt like one, you're the dopest woman I've ever met because you were able to somehow finagle this opportunity in literally you guys like a week. But two, you know, her spirit was just so bigger than life, right? And you know, I had an opportunity to develop a personal relationship with her over the years, and so to find out that she passed away, it was obviously, it hurt me. I lost family, and like I said, just keep Casey and her family in your prayers, you know, because you know, we've all dealt with the loss of someone that's important and someone that's special. And it's in those moments that family, friends, and people that are just aware, it's comforting to know that people can either share your pain or just the whole nine. And we were contemplating canceling the show. But we were already kind of knee deep in it from when it occurred. And she actually asked that we did it, that we move forward. And a large portion of it was because on one level, she didn't know how she would feel. Like I might want to jump in, I might want to reprieve, but then the next level was just like, we're already knee deep in it. And this is something that provides value for a lot of people, right? Like whether they watch it during the discussion, after the discussion, she's very aware of just the space that we're in. And, you know, that's who Casey is someone who cares more about other people than sometimes she cares about herself. And so, you know, just again, got to show absolute love and appreciation and admiration for someone who I love dearly, who is incredibly important to not only Tequila Tales, but to me personally. Again, just keep her in the prayers. Keep her in your prayers, her and her family in your prayers. And again, I just want to thank everybody else that was able to tap into this conversation and add so much value. Uh, it means a lot. Not only that we have something that a lot of people can involve themselves in, but that a lot of people are again contributing and investing into, because it's so much not about me and about my team. It's about this discussion and the thoughts and the emotions that we're sharing. And so, you know, I just want to thank everyone for everything that they've done. Anyone that has either paid attention, made a comment, shared the stream, the whole nine. One thing that I did not mention, and I'd be remiss to mention, we are going to be partnering with a Black-owned tequila brand called Until Tequila. So, you know, normally I have my Jack Daniels up here or whatever, but it's about to change because, and I started to only drink this tonight, but I kind of felt like I needed a moment to experience this on my own. I didn't want this to be the first time that I drank Until and it just completely fly off the hinges. But I have tasted their other variation. It's a coconut. It's coconut infused. I can't remember everything about the other version of it, but Until, Black owned, and they are just an amazing duo. And the woman who started this brand is a cancer survivor, and so you'll see a lot more about this moving forward. We're actually going to bring her on. We're going to interview her and learn more about her story. She actually had a birthday like 2 or 3 days ago, so happy belated birthday. But I just had this up here because you guys will understand a lot more about Until as we move forward. And it'll be more than just a staple that we have on the bar. For those of you guys that listen to podcasts, we have a podcast, the Tequila Tales Unleashed. It is available on all platforms. So if you all like what you're hearing here and you want to hear more, you all can find us, and you'll have a lot of old episodes. We get it in. It's a little ratchet, just like this. So, you know, obviously be mindful of it. But yeah, I just again, I just want to thank everybody for you all's continued support, patronage, and involvement, because that's really what's important. We will be having a holiday show that's coming up soon. We'll post it shortly, but I just wanted to thank all of you guys and just let you all know that we're aware of it. Oh, also, and if you're still watching, you're not a part of the Facebook group, join the Facebook group. It's called The Conversation, right? Like, and so that's how we continue the conversation beyond just these lives that we have. So yeah, with that being said, love you all, and it's a wrap.